Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you? Good to see you guys back on Saturday. With almost half of the syllabus done, and we are now at chapter 5. See, Puneet is there, Bhumika is there, Diksha, Rajiv, Kiran. Good morning, how are you? I'm good, Darshan. How about you? Sundar is there. Just please excuse my t-shirt. I'm traveling, so I haven't carried a shirt. Right? So you'll have to excuse that for today. Hey, Kanchan, Ketan is there. Yes, you have a college today, but you'll be able to attend only 1 hour, not an issue. You can see the recorded session as well. Shazia morning, hi Akshay, Tanisha is there, Vignesh, Yashika, good, good. You just wait for another 1 minute while you can also drop in your doubts, any questions that you have had from the last chapters, anything, any concept that you feel is not clear. Let's talk about that for the next 2, 3 minutes while people are joining in. Happy new financial year to you as well, Devesh. आज आज डेट क्या होगी? 1 अप्रैल हो गई. आज तो अप्रैल फूल बनाएगा आपको भी बच के रहना. You're going to your college or somewhere. Today's 1st April. कोई ना कोई तो मजे लेगा आज. What is selective harvesting? Hmm. When we talk about today, focus की जब बात करेंगे ना, तब मुझे बताना है. Talk about we have generic strategies today from Michael Porter. जब वो पढ़ेंगे तब बताना आपको selective harvesting उसमें example होगा, right? Darshan will talk about that when we are talking about focus strategy because you'll complete all the strategies and then this will make more sense. Thanks, Shubham. If it doesn't matter, then it's good. Thanks for your kindness. Hey, Subhashri, how are you? No doubts, no questions from last sessions. That means everything is clear. और क्या चाहिए भाई? Super. That means the sessions are going right. That means we are clear on all the concepts till chapter number 4. While we also did case scenarios, we also did some questions from the exams. We saw RTPs, we saw mock test papers, we saw question papers from last year, right? We did a lot of groundwork before moving to chapter 5. I hope that you guys also got a chance during the week to go through some of the exam papers or RTPs and MTPs. Okay. Question number 2, test your knowledge from chapter 1. Can explain this question. Bhumika, can you send me the question or a gist of the questions? Because it's very difficult to go to chapter 2 right now. If you have that ready or you can copy paste, just do that. We'll solve that for you. Happy new financial year to you as well, Radhika. Okay, Darshan says, when the environment is stable, stability strategy is opted. Why can't growth strategy be implemented in such a case? Because the environment itself is stable. It will not allow you to grow at a pace that you want your company to grow. Okay. Let's say, for example, an industry which is at a stable stage. Let's say, for example, touchscreen, right? Touchscreen, every phone is touchscreen. So touchscreen industry is at a stability stage. इसमें कुछ आप fast growth नहीं कर सकते because every phone now is a touchscreen. But when this was a new technology, when touchscreen, let's say 10 years back, was a new technology, not every phone was a touchscreen. There were button phones, QWERTY keyboard phones. That time it was a growth strategy. That is when the industry is growing, you opt for a growth strategy. When the industry itself is not growing, it's a stable industry. How would you as a company grow? Very difficult, right? इसीलिए when the industry is stable or there is stability in the industry, the best strategy, you can go and do a growth strategy. Nobody will stop you. What it says is the best option to do is stability. It is not mandated. Okay? Strategy depends on the management. You are the management. It's your company. You decide what is to be done. You can do a growth strategy. You can do a retrenchment. You can do a stability. Depends on you. Nobody's gonna question. Okay, but the best option is to go for a stability. Cool. Let's start with our chapter number 5. While I see most of you have joined in, others will keep joining in automatically. Chapter number 5, right? Which is we have already done half of the syllabus. The second half starts now. Chapter number 5 talks about business level strategies. Chapter 4 was about corporate level strategies. And chapter 6 is about what? Tell me very quickly, answer in the chat box. What is chapter number 6 about? Chapter 4 was corporate level strategies. Chapter number 5, which we are going to do today, is business level strategies. And tomorrow we will do chapter 6. What is chapter 6 about? There are three levels in management. Third level chapter 6 के ऊपर है. What is that chapter? In ADL matrix, catch-up strategy is basically when you feel your competitors have started growing, but you haven't started growing. That is, you catch up with their growth. That is called catch-up strategy. Functional level strategy, absolutely super, right? Chapter number 6 is functional level strategy, which is basically corporate level, business level, and finally you have the functional level strategy. Great. Let's go in and understand and talk about business level strategies, which will essentially talk about competitors, which will talk about industry, the dynamics of the industry, how a business level manager, how a BU head, right? Not the top management, but a business unit head or a business unit manager strategizes with the change in environment, with the opportunities in the environment, and what are the options of strategies available to them, right? Let's talk about that in chapter 5, and here we go. We'll talk about competitive analysis, which is Porter's five forces of competition, right? Then we talk about business level strategies from Michael Porter. He gave three strategies. Michael Porter gave three strategies. He said, number one is cost leadership, that you have the lowest cost in the industry. उससे क्या होगा, अगर आपकी कॉस्ट सबसे लो होगी तो आपका प्राइस भी सबसे लो होगा. आपका प्राइस सबसे लो होगा तो आपके पास कस्टमर्स भी ज्यादा होंगे, राइट? Either way. And second is, if you are a cost leader, if your cost is low and you're able to charge a higher price to the customer, your profit margin is going to boom like anything, right? That is also what cost leadership strategy means. Number two is differentiation strategy by Michael Porter. That you are doing something entirely different as against your competitors, right? आप लोग कुछ बिल्कुल ही अलग कर रहे हो. You're so differentiated as in comparison to your competitor that people, customers, the final customer feels so valued by your product कि वो आपको extra पैसा, so that they're even comfortable to pay a premium for your product. उसको बोलते हैं differentiation strategy, like an Apple or a Samsung Z Fold or a flip phone, right? All of these are differentiation strategies. Final one is called focus strategy. Focus strategy is when your customers, when your product is extremely focused on a single particular idea or thing or market or customer base or age group, whatever. Focus is decided by the management, but you have a simple focus, right? Like we were taking an example of that business case last time, right? Ava Juice. Female teenage girls was the focus of that brand. कि भाई मुझे सिर्फ टीनेज गर्ल्स को एनर्जी ड्रिंक्स या हेल्थ ड्रिंक्स बेचनी है. That is a focus strategy. I'm not going to sell energy drinks to everybody like Red Bull. No, I'm going to sell it only to teenage girls, that to like very young teenage girls. उनके लिए मैं एक हेल्थ ड्रिंक बना रहा हूँ. That is what the idea was. That is called focus strategy, right? We'll study about all of these की कहाँ यूज होती है, कहाँ बेटर है यूज करना. But this is what a business level strategy is all about. Okay, cool. Now, Michael Porter, who is the father of strategic management, right? He's sometimes like called the father of strategic management and competitive, especially in competitive analysis. Michael Porter was an extreme guru of competitive analysis. वो competition के बारे में बहुत लिख के गए हैं, right? He used to talk about competition. He used to write about competition, how the competition should be analyzed, what are the different dynamics of the competition, how should company manage a competition, what kind of competitive forces are there. It's not just about the companies. There is competitive pressure from the industry, from the supplier, from the purchaser, from the consumer. हर तरफ से आपको competition आता है, right? अगर आपके purchase the people you are purchasing products from as a raw material, if they become strong, what happens? Your competitive advantage falls. If your suppliers, they become strong and say, boss, we need more commissions, we need higher commissions, we cannot operate with the lower margin. That becomes a competitive pressure for you. ये सब माइकल पॉर्टर समझा के गए. Okay. Now, most effective and enduring concept frameworks used to assess the nature of competitive environment. Competitive environment को समझने के लिए, like you have SWOT analysis for the entire business environment, like you have SWOT analysis for business environment, right? Similarly, when somebody says how do you assess and analyze competitive environment, आपका आंसर होना चाहिए माइकल पॉटर्स five forces model. Okay, this model holds that the state of competition is a composite of competitive pressures in five major areas of the market. Because it's a five forces model, it says the state of competition. That what if somebody says yeah, competition कैसा है आपकी industry में? How is the competition? It is a combination, collation, addition, grouping, कुछ भी बोल दो, right? It is a composite. It's a total of all the competitive pressures from the five forces of competition by Michael Porter. Now, question is, those पांच forces हैं कौन सी? इतना सारा आपने बता दिया कि ये पांच forces हैं, competitive analysis है, Michael Porter teaches us this. But what are these? What are these five competitive forces? Okay. But before you anyway go into the competitive analysis of the five forces, it's always important to know the assumptions. Please mark ये exam में पूछा जाता है. What are the basic assumptions of competitive analysis in Porter's five forces model? Right? Frequently asked question है. So understand this very carefully. While I also see some voices loud, Said I think I checked वॉइस अभी क्लियर है. मैं थोड़ी वॉल्यूम बढ़ा के देखता हूँ शायद उससे कुछ फर्क पड़े. और आई ट्राई टॉकिंग लाउडर एज वेल. आई थिंक वॉइस इज क्लियर राइट. ओके. Functional level focus strategy and niche marketing are the same. Almost yes. Focus strategy के अंदर niche marketing आती है. So niche marketing is a concept of marketing within focus strategy. Okay. Focus strategy के अंदर marketing technique is niche marketing. Now, the assumptions for competitive analysis. What are the assumptions for competitive analysis? They are again very simple. They are again very simple. Number one, every business operates in a competitive environment. As simple as that. No business is without competition. Number one assumption that there is no business without competition. Number two, the nature, the mix, and the intricacies of competitive forces are industry specific, which means every competitive force is different for every industry. Every competitive force in the Michael Porter's five forces model is different for each industry, right? हर हर force का अलग metric, हर force का अलग, I would say the strength, the quantity, the quality of each of these forces, the five forces, is different for every industry, right? For an education industry, the purchaser is very less. कोई raw material तो है नहीं, but there are teachers, which are suppliers, right? All your employees, right? उनकी ताकत ज्यादा है, but उसमें purchase कुछ नहीं है, right? In education industry, but in something which is a manufacturing industry, let's say steel or mattress or furniture, whatever they are manufacturing, वहाँ पे raw material बहुत सारा चाहिए. जैसे कोई if it's an automobile company like a Maruti or a Honda, the raw material requirement is huge. That is where the force of purchaser is huge for those companies. Okay, cool. The number three assumption is the basic unit for analysis is a group of direct competitors. The basic unit of analysis is a group of direct competitors, which means that direct competitors पे आके ही बात रुकती है. Even if we talk about all the things, even if we talk about purchasers, suppliers, consumers, this and that, the final metric, even in this analysis, the final metric, even in this analysis is how are all these forces, understand this very carefully, how are all these forces finally impacting my relation with the direct competitor? How is my relation with the purchaser? How is my relation with the supplier? How is my relation with my consumer finally impacting my fight or my competition with my direct competitor, मैं उसके against बढ़ रहा हूँ या घट रहा हूँ? Am I winning over my competition or I'm losing against my competition? Final metric तो यही है. The final metric remains that only. Now, number four is competitive advantages industry specific. Even the forces are competitive. The competitive forces are industry specific. Even the competitive advantages industry specific. Okay. Even the competitive advantages industry specific. Four assumption, right? We're good. Just give me a thumbs up. Give me an okay if everything is clear till now. If something is confusing, कि क्या पढ़ रहे हैं, कहाँ जा रहा है ये chapter, ask me right now, right? Because I'm going to give you a lot of examples moving now. Because now we'll talk about the five courses, then we talk about the business level strategies. Just give me a quick thumbs up, just give me a good, clear, okay, go ahead, whatever, and then we move ahead so that I know we are doing the right thing. Second and third point. The second point is the competitive forces are industry specific. Automobile industry की forces, competitive forces are different from a Zara or H&M industry. Okay. और let's say a hospital industry जो है, medicine industry जो है, pharma industry जो है, the competitive forces in a pharma industry are different from something like a media industry like a Bollywood, right? Bollywood की competitive forces will be different, the strength, the mix, the changes, or consa force out of the five are more powerful, that keeps changing with the industries. Similarly, competitive advantage भी हर industry की अलग है. Now, a competitive advantage of Bollywood may be masala or songs or dance. ये इनका competitive advantage है. But same competitive advantage Honda का नहीं है ना. Honda का क्या लेना देना है नाच गाने से, right? They have no relation with songs and music. So competitive advantage changes with the industry, which is a very basic common understanding, right? Number three, basic unit of analysis is group of direct competitors. This means जो पूरा जंतर मंतर हम अभी पढ़ेंगे of competitive analysis, the five forces model of Michael Porter, which are fantastic model to analyze your competitive environment, right? But at the end of the day, everything boils down to how are you doing against your competitors? Either you're winning or losing. That is what the third point says, right? Intricacies means intricacy, complexity. Intricacies are complexities. कृष्णा, ये तो आपको बुक खोल के देखना पड़ेगा कौन से पेज नंबर पे है. वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी टू टेल. नॉट एन इशू किरण, आपको अजम्पशंस क्लियर नहीं है तो पहले फोर्सेस समझ लेते हैं, वापस आपको अजम्पशंस अपने आप समझ आ जाएंगे. लेट्स गो ऑन टू आवर अजम्पशंस, उसके बाद आपको अपने आप समझ आ जाएगा. कूल. ओके, ये 1-5 के ऊपर आ गया. नॉट एन इशू. देयर आर 5 फोर्सेस ऑफ competitive pressure or competitive analysis, right? Number one is nature of rivalry, right? Nature of rivalry in terms of market maneuvering and jockeying for buyer patronage. That means number one Michael Porter's competitive force is nature of rivalry. Nature of rivalry का मतलब है कि भाई साहब कितनी सारी कंपनीज सेम काम कर रही हैं. If there are too many companies doing the same thing, the nature of rivalry is high. If it's a saturated market, the nature of rivalry is high. If you go to a big market and there are 10 jewelers or jewelry shops next to next, right? Think from this perspective now. Okay, I'm going to give you so many examples so that you start understanding, and be very careful when I talk about these examples. Listen to it very carefully. Okay. Nature of rivalry in the market, right, means how many people are doing the same thing. 10 jewelers in this of one shop after the next. हर जगह ऐसे ही होता है, right? If you go to a big market, where a jewelry market or a big Sadar Bazaar or a big Mahatma Gandhi market, whatever, Gandhi market, Naya Bazaar, Purana Bazaar, whatever your city has, you go and see jewelers next to next shop लगाते हैं, right? Five jewelers, 10 jewelers, एक के बाद एक shops होते हैं, next to next, next to next, next to next. The nature of rivalry is very high for them, right? The customer has options at every step. So the nature of fight, the nature of rivalry is very high. Similarly, for example, let's take an example of influencers. Nowadays, on Instagram, on YouTube, everybody wants to be an influencer. On Instagram, Facebook, or YouTuber banna hai sabko. The nature of rivalry is very high. You're competing with so many people that the nature of rivalry becomes very high. That is force number one. When you're analyzing कि यार मुझे ये business करना है या नहीं, or whether you are within this business and you're figuring out मुझे इसमें रहना है या नहीं, you as a business are taking two decisions always, right? If you break down this entire syllabus of strategic management, you as a management are only taking two decisions. Number one, whether I want to get into this business. Number two, if I am in this business, whether I want to stay, grow, or exit, right? Whether I want to stay where I am, whether I want to grow or I want to exit. दो ही आपके पास decisions लेने हैं आपको as a management, right? Now, nature of rivalry, when you're even if you're entering the market, then you will see all these forces को आप दो नजरिए से समझना, okay? You have to understand all these forces from two viewpoints. First, as a new company, new business entering into this industry. Second is you are in this industry. Now you're deciding इसमें रहना है या नहीं. Right? Now you're deciding whether you want to stay in this industry or exit. दोनों points से सोच. The nature of rivalry, if there is a huge amount of people doing a lot of same things, you as a new company who is wanting to enter into this, you might not want to enter, saying यार ये तो सब लोग कर रहे हैं, इसमें बहुत difficult होगा जीतना, right? It will be very difficult to make profits, to be the market leader. बहुत ज्यादा investment, बहुत ज्यादा time लग जाएगा. I don't want to go into this. You can take that decision. Now, if you are an existing business, you might think a lot of people have started doing this. I think it's time to change our strategy or business or product or innovation. कुछ ना कुछ तो हमको change करना पड़ेगा, right? That is how you view at force number one. I see a question as well. Puneet says, number of customers will be more. Like in a cloth mandi, in cloth shops, we get more customers will come specifically to buy the cloth. Absolutely, that is why. Puneet, you have the exact right, and I would say the complete understanding of the logic. कि यार कस्टमर भी तो एक साथ सारे ज्वेलरी लेने या क्लॉथ लेने everybody would come to that market then. So the number of customers will also be 10 times, right? If there are 10 shops, the number of customers are also 10 times. But then again, now you think अगर एक भी शॉप ने 10% डिस्काउंट दे दिया, सबको देना पड़ जाएगा ना 10% डिस्काउंट, right? Now, if there are, let's say all the customers are coming to the market because all jewelers are the same place, one jeweler says, I give 10% off on my entire shop, right? जिसको लेने 10% off दे रहा हूँ, right? Everybody, all the other nine shops will also have to give some discounts. Otherwise, all the customers will go to this 10% wala shop, right? So the nature of rivalry increases. One change or one move by one shop, it creates the other companies or other shops to take actions as well. बिना मतलब के. अब उनको भी मजबूरी में करना पड़ जाएगा, right? That is what nature of rivalry means. But your logic is absolutely right. Okay. Now, the second force by Michael Porter is threat of new entrants. The threat of new entrants in the market, which means यार नई कंपनीज कितनी आ रही हैं, right? Now let's say edtech में जाते हैं. Let's take an example of edtech. There was Akash. There was I think there was a huge brands like Akash was there. FitG was there for IIT, right? You remember FitG was there. Akash was there. Then in Kota there are very famous IIT tuition classes and everything, right? Like Alan. Now, what happened is, or even if I take the examples of chartered accountancy course, right? We had huge branded like edtech companies like an Aldine, or they were very famous teachers for all the subjects, right? But now you see a lot of new people have started entering the market. A lot of new teachers for every subject. Now, physics wala is coming, commerce wala aa gaya hai. New teachers coming into the market, entering. The threat of new entrants. So the existing people in the market are saying, boss, ये तो बहुत सारे नए लोग आ रहे हैं, right? There is a threat of new entrants in the market, right? Because a lot of new companies are coming. That means they will take away my market share. They will bring something new. People will want something new. They will give something new to the consumers, to the students, और मेरे से सारा business लेके चले जाएंगे. That is a threat of new entrants in the market when a lot of new people start joining or coming into an industry. अब let's say जैसे automotive industry लेते हैं. For example, the best example right now in India is automotive industry. There was Maruti, there was Honda, there was Hyundai, और Mahindra थोड़ी बहुत दिखती थी, right? तीन चार companies होती थी बस market में. Now there is Kia, there is Morris Garages, then there is Tata, then Tata की इतनी सारी cars आ रही हैं, Mahindra की इतनी सारी cars आ रही हैं. New brands coming. Skoda is giving new cars, right? People are buying a lot of Skoda as well. All these are threat of new entrants in the market for existing players, right? Kia, MG, ये सब क्या है? ये सब आके break कर रहे हैं market को. These are competitive forces for automotive companies. These are the threat of new entrants, right? New companies आके market share लेके जा रही हैं. यही तो गड़बड़ है इन companies. यही तो competitive analysis है. Number three forces. नंबर थ्री फोर्स इज सब्सटीट्यूट प्रोडक्ट्स. भैया चाय नहीं पियेंगे तो कॉफी पी लेंगे, राइट? व्हाइट मक्खन नहीं खाएंगे तो येलो मक्खन खा लेंगे, राइट? The threat of substitute products being produced by your competitors is force number three by Michael Porter. That what are the substitutes of your products? How well are they being marketed? How well are they being accepted by the customers? Whether your business is in threat because of the substitute products, are people going for the substitute products? Should you go for the substitute products? बहुत सारे सवाल उठ जाते हैं, right? There are so many questions to be solved by the management because of substitute products as a competitive force because they are competing against your product. My substitute product hai. So that is why it is competing against your product. And that is why it's a competitive pressure for the company. That is why it's a competitive force for the company. Number one, nature of rivalry. Number two, threat of new entrants. Number three, substitute products. Let's go to number four and number five, which are buyer bargaining power and supplier bargaining power. Now, supplier bargaining power and buyer bargaining power are very simple to understand if you understand the concept of monopoly, if you understand the concept of dependency. Okay, let's understand the concept of dependency. अब I am a manufacturer of clothes, right? मैं कपड़े बनाता हूँ. I have a company of manufacturing clothes. I am selling my clothes only in Pantaloons. Pantaloons is a big brand for multi-merchandise shops जहाँ पे अलग-अलग brands के कपड़े होते हैं, like a big bazaar. Let's say fashion bazaar. ठीक है? Let's not say Pantaloon. It's not across India. Let's say fashion bazaar or big bazaar में I sell my कपड़े. I sell my clothes, right? Now my supplier is big bazaar. My supplier is big bazaar. I am dependent on Big Bazaar, those. Okay. I am completely dependent on Big Bazaar. Big Bazaar today takes 10% of my sales as their commission for selling in their shop. Tomorrow, if Big Bazaar says, boss, I will start taking 40%. 40% of your business, of your sales, it will be my commission. This is a new mandate. If you want to continue, continue. If you don't want to continue, please take away all your products. We are not interested anymore. Now, because I am dependent on them, the supplier has more bargaining power. The supplier, which is Big Bazaar in this case, has more bargaining power, right? It can demand its commissions, it can demand its profit, and I will not be able to do anything because I am dependent on my supplier, right? इसको बोलते हैं supplier bargaining power. इसको बोलते हैं बाय सप्लायर बार्गेनिंग पावर. Similarly, there is a buyer bargaining power. Similarly, there is a buyer bargaining power, which is basically, right, which is basically when we say that ki mera purchase, the people I take raw materials from, if I'm dependent on them, they will start increasing the prices, and my margins will start falling because my cost will increase. If your cost will increase, your margins will start falling, and that is not a good position for a business to be in, right? So you should, what should you do is you should have multiple suppliers, you should have multiple purchase departments or buyers, right? The buyer bargaining part. Okay. Now, अगर आप purchase कर रहे हैं किसी से, the buyer has a bargaining power, means even you as a company, right? Even you as a company, if you are a purchaser or you are a buyer, आप क्या करोगे? आप कहोगे यार मुझे पता है ये तो सिर्फ मेरे से ही खरीदता है, राइट? ये तो सिर्फ मेरे से ही खरीदता है. आई ये तो मेरे से खरीदता है. व्हाट आई डू इज, ये लो प्राइस बढ़ा दिया, राइट? ये बार्गेनिंग पावर देना ही तो खतरनाक चीज है. यू शुड नॉट गिव योर the bargaining power either to the supplier or to the buyer. You should not give that at all. Okay. Because these are highly competitive forces that will create a problem for you in your competitive landscape. That will create a problem for you in your competitive strategy. You have five forces of Michael Porter. Number one, I have some questions. I'll answer that very quickly. Number one, nature of rivalry. Number two, threat of new entrants. Number three, substitute products. Number four, supply bargaining power. Number five, buyer bargaining power. Very, very frequently asked question है ये. You should know all the five forces with examples. Exam में please quote examples always, especially in chapter 5 related questions. Always please quote examples. I can assure you, you will get one or two extra marks if you do that, because it helps the examiner understand that you know the concept. Okay, cool. Substitute products is not direct competition, but an assumption. It is said everything is around direct competitors. Okay, direct competitors है, direct competition नहीं है. हिमांशु, group of direct competitors है, direct competition की बात नहीं हो रही है. Direct competitors. So even your substitute products is going to impact your direct competitors, right? Tata Tea, HUL. टाटा और एचयूएल के बीच में फाइट हो रही है, डायरेक्ट कंपेटिटर्स हैं, सब्स्टिट्यूट प्रोडक्ट के लिए हो रही है. टाटा टी बना रहा है, एचयूएल कॉफी बना रहा है, या नेस्ले नेस्ट कैफे बना रहा है. दे आर डायरेक्ट कंपेटिटर्स, राइट? ऑन अ ब्रॉडर सेंस, यस दे आर. दोनों एफएमसीजी कंपनीज है ना, इसीलिए. फिफ्थ पॉइंट अगेन साइड, अगेन इफ द बायर, खरीदने वाला इज द ओनली बायर, ओके, सिर्फ मैं ही बायर हूं आपका. If you're selling some product and I am the only buyer who's buying your products, I can ask you to drop your prices. That is a buyer bargaining power. Okay. And in terms of supplier, I was talking about, see, there are two things. Now, either buyers, वैसे Big Bazaar buyer भी नहीं है. Supplier in terms of, I'm just giving an example of, let's say, supplier being the people around your business. See, buyer and supplier को आपको कैसे समझना है? The people connected to your business, right? The people connected. You remember BCK में we studied about the grouping of people close to the business, secondary level, third level, right? The every other business in connection to your business, उनके ऊपर dependent नहीं है. That is how you should understand supplier bargaining power and buyer. You can either be a supplier of somebody, you can either be a buyer of somebody, right? या तो आप किसी को बेच रहे हो या किसी से खरीद रहे हो as a business. The idea is your business should not be dependent on one or two people, either suppliers or buyers. You should have multiple options at any given point in time. Okay? And we're talking about everyone. So even merchandisers, right? जो हमने पढ़ा था, the supporting tertiary supporters like a Big Bazaar or Pantaloons, इनको भी तो bargaining power नहीं दे सकते, right? यशिका भी पढ़ेंगे. We are going in depth with everything, so you'll see more examples as well. right? भूमिका सेम, if you for more examples, अभी तो ये हम सिर्फ हेडिंग दी है, अभी we'll get into all of these and then we'll see more examples. So just be with me for the next 2 hours. हम लोग पूरा क्लियर करते ही चल, ओके? कूल। ये देखो, अब हम सारे अपने फोर्सेस को फटाफट से विद एग्जांपल्स पढ़ते हुए चलते जाएंगे और सिलेबस कंप्लीट करते जाएंगे, राइट? चैनल पार्टनर्स बेसिकली, दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली राइट। Now, number one, rivalry among existing competitors. A rivalry among existing competitors. अब देखो इसको कैसे समझते हैं. Nature of rivalry in the industry. Intensity of rivalry in an industry is significant for attractiveness and profitability. See, now I have clearly marked these two keywords, which is attractiveness and profitability. क्यों किया है पता है? Because these are your keywords whenever you're writing answers in your exam for Michael Porter's 5 courses. Please use these two words, attractiveness and profitability. अट्रैक्टिवनेस एंड प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी को तो आपको हमेशा हमेशा इन वर्ड्स को आपको यूज करना ही है। कैसे यूज करना है? यू हैव टू राइट इन द सेम लैंग्वेज। द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ राइवलरी इन एन इंडस्ट्री is a significant determinant of an industry's attractiveness and profitability. So, which means the forces of competition decide the attractiveness and profitability of the industry. The forces of competition decide the attractiveness and profitability of the industry, right? That is what it means, and that is how you have to write the answer as well. Now, rivalry is high and the industry's profitability is low when? It's a question to you, right? There are 6 points you can read through, but give me some examples as well. Rivalry is high and industry profitability is low when? When this happens, कब होता है ये? जब राइवलरी बहुत हाई होती है, जब बहुत ज्यादा कंपटीशन होता है। कैसे पता चलता है कि यार कंपटीशन बहुत हाई है? हाउ डू यू नो द कंपटीशन इज वेरी हाई? हाउ डू यू नो द कंपटीशन इज वेरी हाई इज द क्वेश्चन. The question in the exam will be, what are the different factors you will consider to identify the rivalry and competition? The competition rivalry is very high in an industry. अब कैसे पहचाना? Read and answer. You can probably read and give me some examples also for each of these points. If you know, कोई examples भी दो, right? यार इसमें competition बहुत ज्यादा है क्योंकि अच्छा ऐसा होता है, right? Like I gave you an example. The rivalry is very high on YouTube or to become a YouTuber or an Instagram influencer is because numerous competitors हैं. A lot of people are competing against each other, right? इसलिए rivalry high है. Or for example, the industry faces slower diminishing growth, right? ग्रोथ ही नहीं है तो राइवलरी हाई है और इंडस्ट्री की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी लो है, राइट? सब लोग डूब रहे हैं तो कौन जल्दी एग्जिट करता है, कौन करता है? कंपटीशन चल रहा है या पहले कौन इससे बच के निकलता है? when the industry is facing low growth or diminishing growth, there is a competition that who will be the first one to win or come out of this situation, right? That's good. UPI payments app, वेरी गुड, दैट इज वेरी गुड एग्जाम्पल. राइवलरी इज हाई, कोई क्लियर लीडर नहीं समझ आ रहा है. फोन पे, पेटीएम, गूगल पे, पीपल आर यूजिंग एवरीथिंग, रेजर पे, राइट? एवरीथिंग इज बीइंग इक्वली यूज्ड. अभी कोई क्लियर लीडर नहीं समझ आ रहा है. दैट्स अ गुड एग्जाम्पल, महेश. Ketan says automobile industry in India, absolutely no clear leader as on date. People are buying everything. सबका मार्केट ऑलमोस्ट आसपास ही चल रहा है, कोई एक क्लियर लीडर नहीं. That's right, Kiran. Kiran also giving automotive. Bhumika says FMCG industry. Absolutely. FMCG may be a lot of rivalry, a lot of competition, no clear definition कि भाई कौन जीत रहा है, क्या हो रहा है. What else? Let me read some examples. What are the examples we have? Let's see. FMCG हो गया. fast changes in products, updated information of the market, reduction in customer mobiles, okay? Numerous competitors in mobile, okay? से स्मार्टफोन इंडस्ट्री में भी आपको बहुत ज्यादा कंपटीशन है. गारमेंट शॉप्स, ओके, क्लोथिंग बेसिकली H&M हो गया, ज़ारा हो गया, बहुत सारे हैं. ऑटोमोबाइल, great, right? But now you understand what we're saying. Now you understand the concept of what we're trying to explain is that boss, rivalry is IT companies. Good example again. Good example, Mahesh. Okay. An industry has no clear leader. There are numerous competitors. Competitors operate with high fixed costs. Competitors face high exit barriers and fight for market share, right? And competitors have little opportunity to differentiate their offerings. That is when the rivalry is high and industry profitability is low. सब लोग सेम ही चीज बना रहे हैं. They do not have an opportunity to differentiate a lot of things, right? ज्यादा differentiate कर भी नहीं पाएंगे because that is how the product is, right? That is where the rivalry is high and industry profitability is low. When the competition faces high exit barriers, if there are exit barriers, right, that means it is difficult to close down the business because of huge investment, because of regulatory purposes, because of lot of employees if your companies have, right? If it is difficult to exit a particular business, even if it's a loss-making business, then it becomes highly competitive because कोई exit ही नहीं कर रहा. जब कोई exit ही नहीं कर रहा है, तो competition तो बढ़ता जाएगा ना दोस्त. कोई एग्जिट ही नहीं कर रहा तो कंपटीशन तो बढ़ता ही जाएगा. दैट इज व्हाट इट मींस. Okay, when if you're operating at high fixed costs, higher exit barriers, your market share is falling or your industry is falling, but you do not have an option to differentiate. सब लोग सेम ही प्रोडक्ट बेच रहे हैं. आइसक्रीम है तो आइसक्रीम पे सब आइसक्रीम ही बेचेंगे ना, राइट? यू कैन नॉट नया टाइप का इनोवेशन कर दिया हमने आइसक्रीम में. वेरी डिफिकल्ट. Either it will be a chocobar, a kulfi, or a cassata, or a brick, or a sundae now, right? तो बस यही होगा, ज्यादा डिफरेंशिएशन का ऑप्शन नहीं है. Similar thing happens. That is why rivalry even in ice creams is high. Mother Dairy, Quality Walls have more than Diwali Dal, right? Amul, rivalry बहुत high है because you cannot differentiate बहुत ज्यादा. कुल्फी तो कुल्फी ही रहेगी ना दोस्त. कोई कोई बना ले, कोई कैसे बना ले, कुल्फी कुल्फी है फॉर द कस्टमर. यू कैनॉट जस्ट डिफरेंशिएट इट फॉर द कस्टमर माइंडसेट. कस्टमर को जो पसंद आएगी वो खाएगा, right? And the customers will have preferences for different companies. That is why the rivalry is very high. Very classic example for hot season or summers, right? Cool. Let's go to the next one, which is threat of new entrants. The second post was threat of new entrants. Why? The new entrants can reduce an industry's profitability and attractiveness. Remember the keywords profitability and attractiveness. New entrants can reduce industry's profitability by adding new production and supply capacity, which erodes existing market share position. नई कंपनीज आएंगी, मॉरिस गराज आएगा, किया मोटर्स आएगा तो होंडा का बैंड बजेगा दोस्त, हुंडई का बैंड बजेगा दोस्त, मारुति का बैंड बजेगा दोस्त. New entrants, when they come, they directly attack the market share of the existing players, right? New entrants also place a limit on the prices. Price war बोलते हैं जिसको. नए entrants आके price war करते हैं. That means they start giving a lot of features at a lower price so that customers start experiencing their brand. पुराने ब्रांड से अपने नए ब्रांड पे लाने के लिए they want to attract customers, for which they get into price wars. And when price wars happen, the profitability falls. Profitability falls because price सब कम करने लगेंगे तो आपका प्रॉफिट भी तो कम होने लगेगा ना दोस्त, right? That is why when new entrants come into the picture, there are very, very strong chances of price war as well. Okay, like teaching industry. Okay, very good. Then teaching industry of threat of new entrants कह रहे हो या वो कह रहे हो? वैसे दोनों जगह है. We fighting because have high exit barriers. Absolutely. अब ये Vodafone Idea exit नहीं कर पा रहे because there are huge costs that they have already incurred. वो लाइसेंस स्पेक्ट्रम खरीदने में 400 करोड़ 4000 करोड़ रुपए खर्च किए हुए हैं. दोस्त वो जब तक रिटर्न नहीं आएंगे they cannot close the company, right? Even if it's going to take 10 years for them, they cannot close the company because they have already spent 4,000 crore rupees. These are called exit barriers, you're right. Physics wala has reduced the scope of Akash, absolutely. Uh, then Geo has provided net for free in the beginning, absolutely. जियो ने आके तोड़ दिया पूरा बिजनेस सबका. लोग खुश थे कि यार चलो अच्छा बिजनेस हो रहा है. जियो कहता है ऐसे कैसे अच्छा बिजनेस होने देंगे, राइट? जियो तो फिर फेमस है ये सब करने के लिए. कि even government don't want exit we, that is right. Is either way, either because of resources or investment or because of regulatory problems, right? It can be anything that you're not able to exit the market, right? It can be anything. Number two, the under how to protect. अच्छा जी. Threat to new entrants, threat of new entrants है, but how do you protect yourself? The companies which are sitting already in the market, the existing businesses can create barriers to entry. They can create barriers to entry for new companies. They can create what? They can create barriers to entry for the new companies to not let them enter the industry. उनकी एंट्री पे बैरियर्स लगा दो. उनकी एंट्री पे बैरियर्स लगा दो ताकि वो अंदर ही ना आ पाए इंडस्ट्री के, राइट? बैरियर लगा दो उनको ताकि न्यू entrants are not able to enter your industry because they are going to eat away your market share. They're going to get into a price war. We don't want that as a company, right? I don't want to lose my business to new companies that are coming into the industry. How do I stop them? How do I stop them? You stop them by using barriers to entry. By using barriers to entry. But barriers to entry क्या होते हैं दोस्त? Barriers to entry होता क्या है? Now, एग्जॉस्टिव लिस्ट में और भी हो सकते हैं, बट सम ऑफ द वेरी फेमस और मोस्ट कॉमनली यूज्ड बैरियर्स टू एंट्रीज आर दीज 7 barriers to entries that you see on your screen. Okay. Now, what I'll do is very quickly I'll go through each one of those, and I want you to give me one example of each of these barriers to entry. आपने कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में या कौन से ब्रांड को ये करते हुए देखा? You have to tell me which brand, which company, or which industry you have seen this barrier to entry happen. Okay. Number one, capital requirement. If your business requires a huge capital, if your business requires huge capital, बहुत ज्यादा पैसा लगता है आपकी इंडस्ट्री में to open a new business within that industry, it automatically becomes a barrier to entry because not everyone would try their hand at doing this work. Only the very rich and big players will come and compete with you. That is number one, capital requirement. Give me some example of industries where there is huge capital requirement. Steel industry, awesome, Himanshu. Puneet says energy discom, awesome, great examples. What else? Give me two, three more. Steel industry हो गया, energy discom हो गया. I'll give you another example, okay? I'll give you the example of cement industry, right? Cement बनाने में बहुत पैसा लगता है, right? Give me some two, three more examples. Mobile network like Jio and Airtel, aviation, cement, telecom, automobile, awesome, great examples. Number two, economies of scale. Economies of scale कर दो, which means you decline your per unit cost and as your volume grows, which means you as an existing business increase your volumes so much that your per unit cost falls to almost negligible, right? अपनी per unit cost इतनी ज्यादा गिरा दो by increasing the volume of your sales. By increasing the volume of your sales, it is called economies of scale. Give me examples of economies of scale. I see previous infrastructure, electronic industry, gold mining, capital requirements, solar industry, right? Car manufacturing, solar panels. Great examples. Great examples. Now, give me some examples of economies of scale. Give me some examples of companies or industries which are using economies of scale as a barrier to entry. Coca-Cola, super example, right? Soft drinks, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. The best examples are those, Devesh. Geo is economies of scale, somewhat yes. 1 rupees chocolate, कहाँ मिल रही है दोस्त? कंचन हमें भी बताओ. FMCG, absolutely. वो भी because of increasing volumes, they also reduce their cost. LED industry, okay, that is also a good example, Himanshu. LED industry भी economies of scale पे पहुंच गई है. You're right. It is no longer a new industry like a Walmart, HCL, D-Mart यूज कर रहा है economies of scale, but वो manufacture नहीं करता है. Economies of scale नहीं है D-Mart. D-Mart is more of buyer bargaining power. ठीक है, वो समझेंगे because they buy so much product in one go from the manufacturers. वो तो buyer bargaining power. D-Mart is an example, or Walmart is an example of buyer, uh, okay, buyer bargaining power or supplier bargaining power. Either way, दोनों है वो. Amazon economies of scale can say so because delivery cost उनकी गिर जाती है. One delivery person delivering 10 things or one delivery person delivering 20 things because there are volumes, per unit cost of delivery गिर जाती है. Good example. Pharmaceuticals. Great. Cool. The third one is switching cost. Switching cost क्या होता है? Directly proportional to reluctant to change. Okay. Now switching cost is very simple. आपको switching cost का एक example देता हूँ और आप समझ जाओगे. People who use Apple products rarely want to switch to Android, right? उनको Android नहीं पसंद. Or people who like Android do not want to go to Apple. They say यार बड़ा झमेला है, हर चीज के पैसे लेता है. It is a very costly UI. You have to pay for every single thing. Android में तो APK डाउनलोड करो सब चलता है, right? Now this is a switching cost. The people, the consumer, if has to switch, if you make your listen to this very carefully. If you make your consumer habitual to your product or service, अगर आपके कस्टमर को आपके प्रोडक्ट की आदत पड़ गई, लत लग गई, right? If your customer consumer is bound or mentally only stuck to your product, right? Is only wanting your product, is desperate for your product, they will not switch to a new entrant. They will not switch to a new product, a new company, a new something because they're dependent. They're habitual. उनको आदत है आपकी. People working on Windows, right? जो Windows यूज करते हैं वो MacBook पे नहीं जा पाते यार. उसमें पावर पॉइंट नहीं चल रहा है, वर्ड नहीं चल रहा है, एक्सेल नहीं चल रहा है, राइट? अ लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज पीपल फेस. इफ यू हैव टू यूज एक्सेल यू हैव टू बाय. बट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के अंदर तो इनबिल्ट आता है, मेरे को खरीदना नहीं पड़ता, बट एप्पल में आपको खरीदना पड़ेगा एक्सेल. Right? So a lot of switching costs come, and this is how companies use the existing companies, right? The existing companies make the consumer habitual of their product, right? इसको बोलते हैं switching cost. Now I have given you two examples of Microsoft Windows and Apple UI and Android. Now you give me some examples of switching cost. Let's see if you can. Switching to FB Lite to FB is easy, but from FB to FB Lite is difficult. Okay, but ये तो सेम कंपनी का हो गया ना, कंपेटिटर नहीं हुआ दोस्त. कपिलन जी तो आपका कंपेटिटर नहीं हुआ ना, पर टॉकिंग अबाउट कंपेटिटर्स. वी टॉकिंग अबाउट कंपेटिटर्स. What are the different? Give me some examples of switching costs. Rajnikanda. That's a good example. Though. Nice. I like it. iPhone. ये सब लोग गुटका ही बोल रहे हैं. ये सब गुटका और ये बीड़ी वाले ही सारे बच्चे हैं. वाह. वेरी गुड. शानदार. WhatsApp and Telegram. That is a great example, Radhika. Thanks for bringing in थोड़ा सा अच्छा एग्जाम्पल. ये टीवी गुटका पेड़े वाला, ये हिमांशु भाई किधर से एग्जाम्पल ला रहे दोस्त. Lays to Pringles. That's a good one. That's a good one, Sanjeev. बीड़ी सिगरेट सिगार, ये पुनीत और हिमांशु को तो यही दो चीजें दिख रही है। भाई अच्छा एग्जांपल दे दो यार कोई। स्टील इंडस्ट्री टू टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री में ये स्विचिंग नहीं हुआ ना कुछ। योर कंज्यूमर इज हैबिचुअल टू स्टील और वो टेक्सटाइल नहीं करेगा, ऐसा थोड़ी ना घूमेगा। यार मेरे को कपड़े पहनने की आदत है, अब मैं स्टील पहनना शुरू कर दूंगा, ऐसे थोड़ी ना। लिकर ब्रांड्स, see, even for cigarettes and cigars, you're right, there are consumers who are habitual to a particular brand, so the examples are absolutely right। और थोड़े अच्छे एग्जांपल्स दो यार, मतलब और भी कंपनीज हैं, सिर्फ बीड़ी गुटखा वाले नहीं। हाँ, दे आर यूजिंग, सी आई एम नॉट सेइंग इट्स अ रॉन्ग, इट्स द एब्सोल्युटली राइट एग्जांपल। बट एग्जाम में मत लिखना बीड़ी गुटखा, बीवी गुटखा मत लिख के आना, को जीरो मिल जाएगा बड़ा सा। हो सकता है पूरे एग्जाम में जीरो दे दे गुस्सा होके। जस्ट refrain फ्रॉम यूजिंग these एग्जाम्पल्स इन एग्जाम्स, अभी के लिए ठीक है समझने के लिए, बट एग्जाम में मत लिखना कि अरे हमने क्लास में बोला था, देखो कितनी तारीफ हुई थी, एग्जाम में भी लिखते हो। लाइक पतंजलि दंत कांति टू कोलगेट, ये स्विचिंग कॉस्ट, ये है स्विचिंग कॉस्ट, राइट। स्विचिंग टू इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स, इट कैन बी, इट कैन बी, राइट, इट कैन बी, दैट्स अ गुड एग्जांपल। टाटा सॉल्ट, नमक भी, राइट, पीपल वांट टू स्टिक टू टाटा सॉल्ट, सेइंग कि यार इस पे हमें भरोसा है, देश का नमक। गिव एन एग्जांपल, राइट। ग्रेट, आई थिंक यू अंडरस्टैंड स्विचिंग कॉस्ट एज वेल। नंबर 4, ब्रांड आइडेंटिटी। यार ये तो सब पढ़ने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, रणवीर सिंह, रणबीर कपूर, शाहरुख खान, सलमान खान, ब्रांड आइडेंटिटी है। They are a business in their own, right? The brand identity, Salman Khan brand identity or a Shah Rukh Khan brand identity is a barrier to entry to a lot of newcomers in the industry, right? They might, अब तो बहुत सारे आ रहे हैं, but still reaching that level, those people are still not called superstars, because these guys are called superstars because they have brand identity, and that is why they are still on the top of the chart. Why? Because they have created a brand identity, and that is how they're creating a barrier to entry for anyone new to become a superstar. There are so many stars now in the Bollywood, new people in the Bollywood, but still the superstars, the brand identity remain with the top 5 or 6, right? Access to distribution channels, again example of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, HUL, FMCG. The access to distribution channel is a barrier to entry for new entrants, because it is very difficult for them to create such a large distributor channel, while existing players already have it, so they use that as a barrier to entry of new players into the market. Product differentiation, making the product, right, making the product very different from existing people will create a barrier to entry, will create a barrier to entry for new entrants. Okay. If you start to use electric brush, you can't even think to go back to the normal one. Is that, is you're saying from that experience, or you're saying from that Shark Tank का dialogue? वो हम सब ने देखा है, यूज किए तो बताओ, ऐसे फेक मार्केटिंग नहीं चाहिए हमें, ठीक है। Possibility of aggressive retaliation. Now, a barrier to entry, number last one, which is seventh one, is called possibility of aggressive retaliation. इसको एक एग्जाम्पल से समझते हैं। Okay. Now let's say there is Jio, there is Airtel. Now a new company, let's say Tata also gets into this. Tata says कि मैं भी अपना टेलीफॉर्म निकालूंगा, मैं उसका नाम रखूंगा टाटा आई, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं कहता हूँ टाटा आई रख लेता है। Now, Jio and Airtel will retaliate very aggressively. They will say, ठीक है, आपको आना इंडस्ट्री में आइए, बट हमसे compete करके दिखाइए in pricing, in quality, because we have existing capabilities, they have existing resources, they have existing experience. They will retaliate, they will respond to a new company very aggressively. ऐसे खाली नहीं करेंगे, आओ पधारो हमारी इंडस्ट्री में मिलके प्रॉफिट कमाते रहेंगे, नो सॉरी, अब आपको आना है आप आओ, बट हम सुपर कंपेटिटिव हैं, हम पूरी जी जान लगा देंगे टू विन ओवर यू एज अ कॉम्पिटिशन। दैट इज कॉल्ड पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ अग्रेसिव रिटेलिएशन, एंड दिस माइट स्केयर ऑफ सम कंपनीज, दिस माइट स्केयर ऑफ सम कंपनीज फ्रॉम एंटरिंग इनटू अ न्यू मार्केट। ओके, मैं आपको एक और बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बताता हूँ, हाउ बिजनेसेस वर्क। ओके, नाउ समटाइम्स सम बिजनेसेस एग्जिस्टिंग अपनी बिजनेस में ना एक छोटी सी कंपनी बनाते हैं, Now, listen to this very carefully. Some businesses create a small company and make it enter into the market, and then they kill that company through pricing, through advertising. अपनी ही कंपनी खोलते हैं एक छोटी सी और उसी को काट देते हैं, right? They open this small company as a new entrant, and then they kill that company, which gives a projection to the entire market, to all the rich industry people, or the market is कि दोस्त कोई भी आएगा उसको हम काट देंगे, right? कोई भी आएगा in terms of काट देंगे means business, we will go and win over that competition, if by hook or by crook, I am here to rule the industry. वो बस मैसेजिंग देने के लिए भी ना कंपनीज ऐसा करती है. ये भी बैरियर टू एंट्री है. पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ एग्रेसिव रिटेलिएशन के अंदर दे वुड रिटेलिएट सो एग्रेसिवली, सब लोग डर जाएंगे यार अगर मैं गया इस इंडस्ट्री में ये तो बैंड बजा देंगे, राइट? दैट इज कॉल्ड बैरियर्स टू एंट्री. Tata had a same before. I know landlines were started by Tata Indicom. Gestation period of customer loyalty किधर से आ रहा है सर? यहाँ तो हम नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. जहां से पढ़ रहे हो उस चैप्टर में हमने पढ़ा हुआ है वैसे. But gestation of customer loyalty is waiting time जब तक customer loyal नहीं होता है. It's called waiting time. Okay. Now, bargaining power of the buyer. Yeah, bargaining power of the buyer. Bargaining power of the buyer क्या है? Right? When the buyer, when the buyer is a powerful buyer. Now, let's say you have a company. Now, let's say you have a company and you sell steerings. ठीक है? आप steering wheels बनाते हो गाड़ी के steering wheels बनाते हो, right? And you sell your steering wheels to Maruti only. मारुति की स्विफ्ट के लिए आप steering wheels बनाते हो. Maruti has given you a contract. Now listen to this very carefully. Maruti has given you a contract to make steering wheels for their Swift, right? जो कार है उनकी Swift, उसकी steering wheels बनाने का contract is given to your company. How many buyers do you have? Give me quick answer. How many buyers do you have? Maruti has given you a contract to make steering wheels for Swift and you make only that for them. सिर्फ वही काम करते हो उनके लिए बनाते हो. How many buyers do you have? Only one. सिर्फ एक बायर है आपका. तो अब जब सिर्फ एक बायर है तो who has the bargaining power? The buyer has the bargaining power. The buyer will say, today I buy a steering wheel for 500 rupees. I'm just giving an example. 500 रुपए का एक स्टेयरिंग व्हील खरीदते हैं, मारुति आपसे खरीदता है at 1 lakh units per year. Now Maruti says, boss, listen, I am stopping Swift after 2 years, so you will have to drop down the capacity to only 50,000 units per year, but still give me at 500 rupees only. 500 रुपए का ही लूंगा अभी भी, but you will have to drop the volumes by half because I'm discontinuing Swift, right? प्राइस भी नहीं बढ़ा रहा, but आपका रेवेन्यू आधा हो जाएगा. You as a business, your revenue becomes half because you're dependent on the buyer, right? And when can buyers bargain? The question is, when can buyers bargain? Number one, when the buyers have full knowledge of the sources of your products and their substitutes. जब बायर को पता है यार तू कहाँ से माल ले रहा है, कितने में बना रहा है, कैसे बना रहा है, the company has only told you ये बनाओ, इतने में बनाओ, यहाँ से लेके बनाओ, ऐसा बनाओ. Now, if the buyer has full knowledge of the source of the product and the substitutes, they're going to tell you, boss, 500 रुपए are also very high. I know इसको बनाने में 200 रुपए लगते हैं. Maruti will come and say, I know इसको बनाने में 200 रुपए बनते हैं, आप 500 का फिर भी we are buying it for 500. We can't increase the prices any further. Sorry, because they have knowledge of your product. So the buyer can bargain. Now take an example of your mothers. Your mother is going to buy a sari or a cloth material, ठीक है? वो कहते हैं अरे ये तो प्योर कॉटन है, अरे ये तो सिल्क है, अरे दिस इज टस्सर सिल्क, अरे दिस इज दिस कपड़ा, दिस इज नॉट प्योर कॉटन. So they start bargaining as a buyer. यार आप क्या ये प्योर कॉटन है ही नहीं, ₹1000 का सूट कैसे बोल रहे हो? ये तो ₹500 का होना चाहिए, तो ₹600। This should be 500, 600 rupees. This is not pure cotton. वो पकड़ के they just touch and they know. When the buyer has full knowledge of the product, the buyer has a more bargaining power. Okay. Number two, they are in a position to demand favorable terms of contract. When a buyer has an option to demand favorable terms in a contract, the buyer has a bargaining power. Just the example I gave you. And number three is they can easily switch to substitutes available. If the buyer can easily switch to substitutes available, nothing like it. Now for मारुति कहते हैं यार मेरा स्टीयरिंग व्हील स्विफ्ट का और बलिनो का सेम है, राइट? The Swift का steering wheel and Baleno का steering wheel is absolutely the same. Two car models, same steering wheel. Swift we were producing with you, and Baleno is made by somebody else. Now you say, boss, see, up quantity be 50,000 you're doing, and you're not increasing the prices. I am not able to function. I want the price to increase to 700 rupees. 700 rupees में आप final मेरे को दे दो. Now Maruti says, boss, listen. Okay, I can easily switch to substitutes available. That Baleno wala is already making 2 lakh pieces every year. I can ask him to produce 50,000 more. मेरे को तो और सस्ता पड़ेगा. So I'm not paying 700 to you. I'm switching to Baleno wala because वो तो मुझे और सस्ता दे देगा, right? Now, easily switch to substitutes again gives the power in the hands of the buyer. The buyer can switch to a different seller, and the seller is weak now. They cannot just go and bargain the prices, the quality, the contracts. बुरे फंस गए, right? Dependency में बुरे फंस गए. इसको बोलते हैं the buyer bargaining power. Okay. Should we here stop here and take a break for 10 minutes? Can we take a quick break of 10 minutes? Then we will be back. Give me a yes and no. And then we start with the other two forces and the strategies. फटाफट से हो जाएगा. 9:15, 9:20 that we will finish the chapter. Just very quickly, let me know if we can take a small, quick 10 minutes break. You guys also go wash your faces. So be jaldi here, drink something, get a coffee or a chai. I'll also get something. Let's see. Cool tea break. Awesome. It's 8 right now. Let's be here by 8:15, 8:16. Okay, 8 minute का लेते हैं. Let's be here in next, let's say 10 minutes only. Let's be here by 8:18 or something. Okay, cool. I see you at 8:18 then. Alright, guys, we are back. I'll just wait for another minute or so for all of you to come back, and then we will start with our fourth force of Michael Porter's competitive forces. I have a question from Bhumika. She's asking, uh, switching cost is cost incurred by the buyer if he or she switches from one product to another product. That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. That is what it means. That is what it means. That is absolutely right. If you're back, just give me a quick thumbs up or an okay or whatever so that I know we can start. Just look at the chat box for some. Okay, great. Good, Bhumika. I'm happy that you've understood it now. Just give me a thumbs up, okay, hello, whatever you want to give. So then, okay, cool. Bhumika is there. I see Kabila and Puneet, Diksha, Shazia. I just for last 30 seconds. Let's wait for last 30 seconds and then for all of those who have joined, we'll respect your time and start. Yeah, great. Switching costs can also be comprised of uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable? कौन ये कौन सी English हुई दोस्त? Switching cost can also be comprised of uncomfortable. चलो समझते हैं. Give us some examples what you're trying to say. Maybe you're not able to understand, but समझा दोगे तो बता देंगे. Cool. Awesome. Let's get to the fourth one, which is bargaining power of the sellers. Like again, अब आप एक seller हो ना, the position changes. Now the position changes. You are a seller. Now for a seller, what happens is the bargaining power of the supplier or the seller determines the cost of raw material and other inputs. Now, you again, let's switch and see what happens. मारुति अगर वो बलिनो वाले से आपके steerings बनाना शुरू कर दे, okay, now Maruti says that okay, thank you, we don't want to continue business with you. I am going to the Baleno person to make 50,000 steering wheels for Swift as well. ठीक है, Swift के 50,000 steering wheels बनाने के लिए भी I'm going to use that Baleno वाला supplier. Now that Baleno वाला supplier says boss अब मजा आएगा. Now Maruti is dependent on me. I am the seller for Maruti, and Maruti is dependent on me. If I do not make steering wheels, if I stop making steering wheels, Maruti cannot sell Baleno and Swift. Steering wheel के बिना तो गाड़ी जाएगी नहीं, right? Now that company which is making steering wheels of Baleno and Swift becomes a seller with a bargaining power. That becomes a seller with a bargaining power. Okay, that becomes a seller with a bargaining power. But what happens is basically when a supplier or a seller has more influence over pricing or quantity or even the volumes, right? What happens is their attractiveness and profitability increases, while for the purchaser, the attractiveness and profitability decrease, right? The bargaining power of the supplier determines the cost of raw material for Maruti है. जो Baleno वाला है, right? जो Baleno वाला है, that is going to now demand high prices और would say कि मैं नहीं देता, जाओ क्या कर लोगे, right? Maruti is now stuck with that. That is what a bargaining power of the seller is. Suppliers can command bargaining power over a firm when their products are crucial and substitutes are not available, which is happening for Maruti right now. In this example that we are taking, they can ensure high switching costs. If they can ensure a high switching cost, the supplier, they can still command a better bargaining piece from their purchasers. right, or consumers. And if there are less of suppliers and more of buyers, तब भी suppliers के पास bargaining power होती है, because there are more people who are selling a product and less people who are buying. Like petrol. पेट्रोल में सेलर्स हैव अ बार्गेनिंग पावर. आप पेट्रोल किससे खरीद सकते हो? आप इंडियन ऑयल से खरीद सकते हो, भारत पेट्रोलियम से ले सकते हो, रिलायंस से ले सकते हो. और तो कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है आपके पास. बट एवरी वन इज अ बायर ऑफ पेट्रोल, बट द सप्लायर्स आर वेरी लिमिटेड, राइट? That is what a bargaining power of the supplier or the seller is, right? That is what a competitive force, number four, by Michael Porter is. Okay. Number fifth is threat of substitutes. Classic example being coming up is your chai and coffee, right? Substitutes usually limit the prices and profits of the industry. The firms must search for products. ये yellow में जो है इसको carefully समझिए. Firms must search for products that can perform the same or nearly the same functionalities as their own products, right? जब ये ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स आइडेंटिफाई कर लेंगे, देन दे कैन एक्चुअली फॉर्म स्ट्रेटजीज टू फाइट और टू लर्न फ्रॉम दोज प्रोडक्ट्स और टू इवन स्टार्ट सेलिंग दोज प्रोडक्ट्स एज वेल, राइट? तब हो जाएगा आपका इक्वल हो जाएगा तब जब फर्म्स आल्सो स्टार्ट क्रिएटिंग दोज प्रोडक्ट्स. If they start creating substitutes, if they start selling substitutes as well, only when they are able to identify a substitute, right? तभी तो बेच पाओगे दोस्त, right? So threat of substitutes is also a competitive force by Michael Porter, which the company should identify and try to solve that either by manufacturing and selling the same product or marketing against it. उसकी marketing against भी कर सकते हैं, जो कि होता ही है. If you see, अब क्या होगा, पीपल ऐसे अरे कॉफी ज्यादा पीने से एंजाइटी होता है, कॉफी ज्यादा पीने से कैफीन ज्यादा होता है, यू शुड नॉट ड्रिंक सो मच कॉफी, इट इज नॉट गुड फॉर दिस, नॉट गुड फॉर दैट, राइट? एंटी मार्केटिंग भी तो चलती है. That is what you do for your substitutes. Anti marketing is also one of the strategies companies use to beat substitutes. Okay. SRS airbag in all the cars. Absolutely correct. That's a monopoly they have. They are the sellers, they are the monopoly sellers for airbags. Great example. Rough paper register over white paper register, okay? Which is also a good example, consider, right? Substitute hai. People would select that for themselves. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is competitive landscape using five forces model. इसका क्या मतलब? इसका क्या मतलब होता है? कौन समझाएगा मुझे? Competitive landscape हम पढ़ चुके हैं दोस्त. We have already studied competitive landscape. Now you have to tell me what is a competitive landscape, and then I'll tell you how to identify a competitive landscape using the five forces model. Tell me what is a competitive landscape. I got logged out of the chat box. Give me 1 second. I'm logging in. Meanwhile, keep answering what is a competitive landscape, and while I get into the chat. Got it. I'm inside now. Okay, perfect. Current competitors of the entity, right? analysis about who is the real competitor, market share of the competitors. It is all the options available to the customers rather than our product. That is right. The real set of competitors that a company has are called competitive, are part of competitive landscape. These are called competitive landscape, right? And the competitive landscape using the five forces model is simple. There are three steps to determine an industry's competitive landscape using the five forces model of Michael Porter. How do you do that? Number one is Number one is you identify the specific competitive pressures associated with each of the five forces, right? You identify what in all of these five forces, what is happening? What is the specific competitive pressure in each of these five forces? Number two is you evaluate the strength of the pressure, whether these are weak, whether it is fierce, whether it is strong. So new entrants, are they strong or weak, right? Bargaining power of the supplier, strong or weak? Bargaining power of the buyer, strong or weak? Substitute, strong or weak? Rivalry, is it strong, weak, fierce, moderate, whatever it is, right? You identify the strength of each of the pressures. Number three, you determine whether the collective strength of the five forces is conducive to earning attractive profits. That means इन पांचों forces को अगर मिला के देखें, if I add up all the forces, is it still attractive as a business, right? Is it still attractive as a business to continue doing this business or get into this business? If the answer is yes, you get into the business. If the answer is no, you stay out of the business or you plan to exit the business, right? That is how you define a competitive landscape using the five forces model. First, you identify each of these forces. Second, you identify the intensity, the pressure, the strength of each of these forces, whether it is fierce, strong, moderate, or weak. And finally, you determine whether the collective strength of all of these put together, is the industry still attractive to continue doing business or get into the business or not. If yes, you do the business or continue the business. If not, you stop doing the business or you exit the business, right? As simple as that. Cool. The substitutes available for consumers to choose other than our products. Correct. And so you're looking at the last one. And that this is landscape, kana? Okay. Done, hai, sir. Now, we talked about corporate strategy at a corporate headquarter level. We are now going to talk about business strategy, which is at a business strategy level, which is at the business management or let's say SBU level or a business level, right? Now, business level managers are going to build this, but ये रहा दोस्त exam का keyword. Customers are the foundation of an organization's business level strategies. Customers are the foundation. Customers are the foundation of Customers are the foundation of an organization's business level strategies. इसको याद रखना. Who are the foundation of a business level strategy? Customer. Who are the foundation of the corporate level strategy? The stakeholders like investors, banks, government, owners, and customers. Right? जो कॉर्पोरेट लेवल है वो इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए ज्यादा काम करता है, शेयर होल्डर्स के लिए ज्यादा काम करता है. Corporate strategy works for the shareholders, right? Business level strategy works for the customers. कस्टमर की फाउंडेशन, कस्टमर को समझने का काम है बिजनेस लेवल स्ट्रैटेजी का दोस्त. ठीक है, दैट इज व्हाट यू नीड टू रिमेंबर है. ओके. Business level strategies are concerned with issues like identifying and meeting the needs of the key customers, achieving advantage over the competitors, avoiding competitive disadvantages. ये तीन चीजों के ऊपर काम करती है बिजनेस लेवल स्ट्रैटेजी. नंबर वन है आइडेंटिफाई एंड मीट द नीड्स ऑफ की कस्टमर्स, अचीविंग एडवांटेज ओवर कंपेटिटर्स एंड अवॉइडिंग कंपेटिटिव डिसएडवांटेज. ठीक है, अपने कस्टमर्स ढूंढो, उनको सर्व करो, अचीव करो एडवांटेज ओवर द कंपटीशन एंड अवॉइड योर कंपेटिटिव डिसएडवांटेज. तीन चीजें सॉल्व कर दो, ये आपकी बिजनेस लेवल स्ट्रैटेजी बन जाए. ठीक है, बिकॉज इट्स कस्टमर सेंट्रिक, इट्स फोकस इज ऑन कस्टमर. कूल. नाउ माइकल पॉटर जी ने हमको तीन बेस स्ट्रैटेजीज भी दे दी. Michael Porter gave us three base strategies as well. at a business level strategy formulation. ठीक है, उन्होंने बोला सुनो, according to Porter, strategies allow organizations to gain competitive advantage from three basic, these are called generic strategies, these are called base generic strategies. Number one is cost leadership, number two is differentiation, and number three is focused, right? Focused strategy. पहली है cost leadership, second is differentiation, and third is focused strategy. A focused strategy further has two subsets. A focused strategy is further has two subsets, which is focused cost leadership and focused differentiation. Okay, cost leadership, differentiation and focused. और focused के अंदर फिर से you have cost leadership and focused differentiation, right? Larger firms with greater access to resources typically compete on a cost leadership strategy or differentiation strategy, whereas smaller firms often compete on a focused basis, right? Larger firms with greater access to resources, they compete on cost leadership because उनके पास पैसा है, इसीलिए वो अपने खर्चे कम कर सकते हैं because they can invest in technology, they can invest in R&D, they can invest in resources to bring down their costs, right? Larger firms with greater access to resources typically compete on a cost leadership and differentiation because they can spend money on innovation, design, technology. Whereas smaller firms often compete on a focus basis. Smaller firm क्या करती है, इतना resource है नहीं, तो वो focus market ढूंढती है. They go to the focus customers and they start building their markets or businesses there. Right? Any questions? If no, give me an okay and yes, and then we go to understand each of these strategies with examples very quickly. In the next 30-40 minutes, chapter complete हो जाएगा. Any questions, any doubts, throw them at me. If not, give me a yes, give me a okay, give me a thumbs up so that I know it's going fine and it's easy to understand, right? इतना मुश्किल नहीं है. बहुत ही बेसिक है, कॉमन बात कर रहे हैं, कंपेटिटिव लैंडस्केप की बात कर रहे हैं, कंपेटिटिव एनालिसिस की बात कर रहे हैं. एंड नाउ वी गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट बेसिक जेनेरिक स्ट्रेटजीज बाय माइकल पॉटर एट अ बिजनेस लेवल. Awesome. Thanks everyone. Himanshu, Bhumika, Ketan, Tazia, Hira, Tanisha, thanks for giving a thumbs up. Let's go to the first one, right? Let's go to the first one. Thanks, Diksha, for it's here. कॉस्ट लीडरशिप स्ट्रैटेजी, इसको और क्या बोलते हैं? कॉस्ट लीडरशिप स्ट्रैटेजी को वी आल्सो कॉल लो कॉस्ट प्रोड्यूसर, राइट? कॉस्ट लीडरशिप स्ट्रैटेजी इज आल्सो कॉल्ड लो कॉस्ट प्रोड्यूसर. नाउ what it does is a cost leadership, right? A cost leadership wants to drop its cost of manufacturing or producing the product to the bare minimum, right? Its strategy is to aim at broad mass market by attracting price-sensitive consumers by underpricing competitors, right? Cost leadership का क्या मतलब है कि cost गिरा दो, right? अपनी cost इतनी गिरा दो कि मैं competitor की pricing तोड़ सकूं, so that I can fight in pricing the competitors because my cost is very low. Even if I drop my prices, my margins are still going to be decent. इसको बोलते हैं cost leadership, right? इसको बोलते हैं cost leadership. Absolutely, we're going to do that, Shubham, as well. In BCK, we talked about Coca-Cola's cost leadership. I'm going to give you that example same here and explain you what it does. Okay? They can buy in bulk or lower rate per unit. That is right, Neil. Okay. Now what happens is, टेक एग्जाम्पल ऑफ कोका कोला. वो क्या कर रहा है? कोका कोला कॉस्ट लीडरशिप कैसे कर रहा है? दे प्रोड्यूस सो मच, राइट? दे प्रोड्यूस फॉर द ब्रॉड मासेस. उनकी कोई नीश मार्केट नहीं है. कोका कोला इज नॉट सेलिंग इन अ नीश मार्केट. दे सेइंग एवरीबॉडी कैन ड्रिंक. somebody who is a 5-year-old kid to somebody who is a 80-90-year-old buzurg, right? Everybody can drink a soft drink, Coca Cola or Pepsi, whatever the case is. It is selling to every single human on earth, right? In doing so, it is creating economies of scale to another level. Every day, Coca-Cola is making what, like 300, 400 crore bottles, right? इतना ज़्यादा उनका production है that their per unit cost decreases because you know the concept of fixed cost and variable cost. Their variable cost only increases with the increases volume, but fixed cost तो उतनी ही रहती है ना दोस्त. If they have a factory which can produce 5 lakh bottles in 10 minutes, right? 10 मिनट में 5 लाख बॉटल बनाने की कैपेसिटी है एक फैक्ट्री की और फैक्ट्री की कॉस्ट है 1000 crore rupees. तो वो तो अपने आप 1000 ही रहेगी, राइट? इफ दे यूज दैट फॉर नेक्स्ट 20 years, वो तो 1000 crore फिक्स कॉस्ट है, वो पर यूनिट कॉस्ट गिरनी शुरू हो जाएगी बिकॉज इफ दे स्टार्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग 5 लाख बॉटल्स एवरी 10 minutes, जो कि फुल कैपेसिटी है, if they start working at full capacity, their per unit cost starts dropping very fast. इसका बेनिफिट उठाते हुए they price their product very decently. Okay, now think about this. Every place, every shop has a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, right? Distribution है, transportation है, bottling है, then trademark है, marketing है, सलमान खान ऐड कर रहा है, शाहरुख खान ऐड कर रहा है, अक्षय कुमार ऐड कर रहा है, सब चीज का पैसा लग रहा है. They have a cost for everything and still they're able to sell at a 45 rupees per bottle, right? पूरी कॉस्ट लगा के भी 45 rupees का दे सेलिंग दिस बॉटल. हाउ इज दैट पॉसिबल? No other company is able. If let's say a new company comes and tries to do that, the same amount of volumes, the same amount of advertisement or bottling or distribution करने जाए, right? नई कंपनी की कमर टूट जाएगी, right? Because their cost will be extremely high to get a Salman Khan to reach every shop in every damn center of the country. It is nearly impossible. It has a huge cost. They will not be able to sell at 45 rupees. उनकी cost ही 50 रुपए आ जाएगी. A new company will have a cost per unit of 50 rupees and Coca-Cola Pepsi is selling at 45, making 80% profit, right? Because they are cost leaders. Because they have reduced their cost over the years, right? इसको बोलते हैं cost leadership strategy. इसको बोलते हैं cost leadership strategy to not let people come into the industry or beat your competition at the end of the day, right? Either way, या तो आप competition beat कर रहे हो या फिर you are not letting people get into the industry, right? Now, the internal strategy of sharing resources to build a competitive advantage is called synergy benefit. Now, what is synergy benefit, which comes in cost leadership strategies? Again, very simple. It's called sharing of resources. Now, for example, Pepsi and Coca-Cola एक ही फैक्ट्री यूज करके अपने प्रोडक्ट्स बना रहे हैं, मान होता भी है, right? A lot of companies do that. A lot of companies use the same factory to produce their both the products and they do a packaging differently, right? This is called sharing of resources. It's called synergy benefit. दोनों की कॉस्ट गिर गई, दोनों की कॉस्ट गिर जाती है, राइट? कंपनीज डू दैट टू रिड्यूस देयर कॉस्ट. वी स्टार्ट यूजिंग कॉमन रिसोर्सेज. जो आजकल कॉन्सेप्ट आ रहा है ना ओपन ऑफिस का, या फिर पे एंड पे 600 रुपीज पर आवर कॉमन ऑफिस, कंपनीज ये पहले से ही करती है. दे शेयरिंग फैक्ट्रीज, दे शेयरिंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ट्रक्स. अब एक ट्रक में, लाइक थिंक अबाउट दिस, शेयरिंग रिसोर्सेज इज नॉट जस्ट द फैक्ट्री, it's a truck as well. A truck can hold, let's say, 5,000 bottles. And Pepsi says, यार मेरे को तो सिर्फ 3,000 bottles की जरूरत है, बाकी 2,000 की कॉस्ट मैं क्यों भरूं, राइट? 5,000 कैपेसिटी का ट्रक है, आई शुड नॉट let it go empty. So it calls up Coca-Cola and says, boss, listen, I have a truck which can get 2,000 bottles extra. Do you want to use this? And you pay me some money, right? You pay me some money and we both can use this to reduce our cost. तो कोका कोला से बॉस इट्स ओके, आई इट्स गुड फॉर मी, आई एम रिड्यूसिंग माय कॉस्ट. तो एक ही ट्रक में कोका कोला और पेप्सी दोनों अपना ट्रांसपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. दे आर शेयरिंग दोज रिसोर्सेज, राइट? इट इज कॉल्ड कॉस्ट लीडरशिप स्ट्रेटजी. जहां से वेर एवर यू कैन रिड्यूस योर कॉस्ट, you start reducing your cost. Okay, this is called cost leadership strategy. Great. The actions to achieve cost leadership are prompt forecasting of the demand. If you know how much sales you are going to do, you can achieve cost leadership. उसी हिसाब से आप production करोगे. If you are able to forecast your demand, that is how you will produce or manufacture the products also, and then you will achieve economies of scale, right? Optimum utilization of resources. तभी तो cost कम होगी when you're not wasting anything. When your wastage is minimal, then your cost leadership, then you start reducing your cost. What are the actions to achieve cost leadership? Number one, correct and prompt forecasting of your sales demand. Second is optimum utilization of resources. Number three is achieving economies of scale, right? Number four is standardization, like McDonald's. मैकडॉनल्ड्स का स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन है, एक ही टाइप के बंस, एक ही टाइप की टिक्की, एक ही टाइप का द पैटी, the mayonnaise, the ketchup is packed, the same trays everywhere, the same paper everywhere. They're standardizing it because of standardization, like a Haldiram also, like a Have More, like a Sarvana Bhavar in South India, right, or a Sagar Ratna. What are they doing is standardize content and it reduces the cost because they're copy pasting everything for every restaurant, every place in the world that where they operate. Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. तो कॉस्ट कम हो जाती है, ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाना है, हर जगह नई चीज नहीं बनती है, एक ही जगह दे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑल ऑफ दिस एंड जस्ट sending it across to all the restaurants. It's a standardization helps in cost leadership strategy. Exam question, right? Investing in cost saving technologies like a chat GPT now, right? People are going to use chat GPT and they're going to reduce their payroll cost. They are going to lay off a lot of people and use chat GPT. तो क्या cost saving ही तो कर रहे हैं लोग, right? Then resistance to differentiation till it becomes essential. Cost leadership cannot be a differentiation strategy, as simple as that. How you need to understand this is, again, an exam question. Cost leadership and differentiation cannot go hand in hand. The differentiation causes the cost to increase because you are innovating, you're designing a new product, you're becoming different from your market, right? So differentiation and cost leadership cannot go hand in hand. You will have to refrain from differentiation to reach a cost leadership strategy, right? That is what it means. Okay. Synergy benefits is for competitive advantage. If I share my resources to my competitor, then how will I attain competitive advantage? See, cost leadership may, I was giving you an example of trucks as well, right? Not just factories. The idea is to reduce your cost. Okay. The idea is to reduce your cost. Your competitors, I just gave you an example of Coca-Cola, Pepsi. आप किसी और के साथ भी तो कर सकते हो. You can use somebody else's trucks जहाँ पे खाली जा रहे हैं. Some other products. You can use it with HUL. You can use it with Tata, right? टाटा टी के ट्रक्स जा रहे हैं और कोका कोला बोले यार आपके ट्रक्स तो खाली जाते हैं, कैन आई यूज दैट स्पेस इन योर ट्रक्स टू ट्रांसपोर्ट माय प्रोडक्ट्स, both of us will be able to save cost, right? They can do that as well. I gave you an example because that's a duopoly. Pepsi and Coca-Cola तो duopoly, दो है, दोनों ही राज करते हैं सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक्स में. So they are actually doing all of this. If you go on Google and study, Pepsi and Coca-Cola हर चीज शेयर करते हैं, right? वो और किसी को नहीं आने देते. They have this agreement, unsaid agreement between the two companies. Boss, we will not let anyone else come into the industry. हम दोनों ही राज करें. That is, I was giving you that example. But if you think कि competition, competitive advantage कैसी है अगर मैं competition से I'm sharing my resources, you're right, right? So basically you can use with some else industry, कोई और industry से आप resources use कर सकते हैं, which is fine, right? You just have to figure out how to reduce your cost. You are the management, you are the business person, you need to decide. We are just giving you a basic idea how you can do that. Okay. Cool. Advantages, badi jaldi se pad lete. Rivalry. Competitors are likely to avoid a price war because you are the cost leader. They're not going to like compete with you on the prices because you are the cost leader. Buyers, they are unable to exploit you because आप already सस्ती, आपकी cost बहुत कम है. So the buyers also do not have a bargaining. Do you and me have a bargaining power with Coca-Cola? No, we don't. Suppliers, ability to absorb greater price increases, right? Now, because my cost is less, my suppliers know, right, कि यार volume बहुत ज़्यादा देते हैं, right? Cost leaders are able to achieve cost leadership because they have volumes. And because they have volumes, their suppliers are also dependent on them. तो वो भी bargain नहीं कर पाते. Cost leadership strategy, the buyer cannot bargain because you are the cost leader. आपकी cost इतनी कम है, आप price ऊपर नीचे कर सकते हो, and you don't have an option. The buyers do not have an option. Suppliers, because the cost leader has a lot of volumes, the supplier also चुपचाप बैठे रहो and they say कि नहीं यार, I don't want to like pinpoint them or have a rift with them because they give me so much business. They have so much volume. They bring in a lot of volume for my business as well. So I don't want to bargain or fight with them. Entrants, न्यू एंट्रेंट्स तो आ ही नहीं पाते बिकॉज यू आर द कॉस्ट लीडर. आप वैसे ही 2 रुपए का कोका कोला 45 में बेच रहे हो. द कॉस्ट ऑफ अ न्यू एंट्रेंट इज 50 रुपीज पर यूनिट. दे कैन नॉट सेल एट 45. Already out of business, right? And substitutes. Now, substitutes is something that can be an issue for you, but leaders may lower cost to induce existing customers. अब आप प्राइस पे खेलते हो. जब आपके सब्सटीट्यूट्स क्रिएट हो जाते हैं ना, तब आप प्राइस पे खेलना शुरू करते हो. Substitute for a Coca-Cola could be a health drink, which is 200 rupees for 350 ml. आ रहे हैं ना आजकल those smartly packed bottles की health drink है, aloe vera juice है, but they are for 150 rupees, 200 rupees for 300, 400 ml. पेप्सी कह रहे बॉस जाओ लोग खरीदो, 200 रुपए का खरीद सकते हो तुम, राइट? वो अपना 45 से 40 रुपीज का कर दिया, 5 रुपए और सस्ता कर दिया. यू आर लाइक बॉस यार, इट्स अ पार्टी, आई डोंट वांट टू स्पेंड thousands of rupees on getting aloe vera juice for everyone. By 5 Pepsi खरीदो और खत्म करो पार्टी, right? That is how they're beating the substitutes, by pricing, right? That is what a cost leadership does. That is what a cost leadership strategy helps you do when you're the cost leader, right? ये हैं advantages for rivalry, buyers, suppliers, and then substitutes. It actually helps you tackle all of it. Okay? Disadvantages भी हैं, right? Disadvantages are competitors may imitate the technology or the techniques that you are using. If some big player comes up, just say Reliance is coming with their Campa Cola, they may come and disrupt this. They may start imitating, copying the cost reduction technology. Cost leadership succeeds if only if you have higher volumes. आपके पास वॉल्यूम नहीं है तो आप कॉस्ट लीडरशिप नहीं कर सकते. दैट इज अ डिसएडवांटेज. सो यू हैव टू मेंटेन दोज वॉल्यूम्स कि आपकी सेल्स होती रहे. ऐसा नहीं है आपकी सेल्स कम होगी तो आप फिर कॉस्ट बढ़ती जाएगी. आज पेप्सी बिक रही है तो उसको मजा आ रहा है. कल को इफ पेप्सी और कोका कोला स्टॉप सेलिंग और द सेल्स स्टार्ट्स फॉलिंग, देन दे आर नो लॉन्गर अ कॉस्ट लीडर. देयर पर यूनिट कॉस्ट स्टार्ट्स टू इंक्रीज. इसीलिए तो वो इतनी एड, इतना प्राइसिंग पे फाइट करते हैं, सो दैट वॉल्यूम्स डू नॉट डिक्रीज. ओके. Now, cost leaders, because they have spent so much money on distribution, manufacturing cost, innovation, technology, and everything, they prove to be expensive in the long run, right? It's not an easy strategy. It requires a lot of money. Distribution channels के लिए, volumes के लिए, raw material चाहिए, marketing चाहिए. It is a very costly strategy. Okay. Number 4, technology advancement are a great threat to cost leaders. If you're a cost leader, but कुछ technology advantage ऐसी आई that your entire business model goes for a toss, उसको बोलते हैं भाई cost leader. उसको बोलते हैं great threat because of technology. You are thinking यार I'm the cost leader, मेरे को तो कोई touch नहीं कर सकता, but there is an advancement, there is a technology breakthrough that kills your business altogether. इसको बोलते हैं threat of technology advancement, which is there with cost leaders. Okay. एंड फाइनली सबसे बड़ा थ्रेट तो क्या है? कंज्यूमर का इंटरेस्ट ही चेंज हो गया आपके प्रोडक्ट. यू थिंक यू आर द कॉस्ट लीडर, बट द कंज्यूमर्स नो लॉन्गर लाइक योर प्रोडक्ट एनी मोर. तो कॉस्ट लीडर करेगा क्या? वॉल्यूम्स गिर जाएंगी एंड अपने आप आउट ऑफ बिजनेस हो जाएगा. सो द बिगेस्ट थ्रेट एनी वे इज चेंजिंग कंज्यूमर इंटरेस्ट, राइट? नीचे इज kombucha. kombucha क्या होता है? I've never heard that. Okay, let's go to the next strategy, which is differentiation strategy, right? आपने देखा के ड्रामाज आप लोग देख रहे हो, जापानीज एनिमे देखते हो, एप्पल आईओएस देखते हो, जियो की प्राइसिंग है. All of this is differentiation, something new for the broad mass market. The strategy is aimed at a broad mass market. Differentiation for broad market, cost leadership for broad market, focus for close, unique, your niche market. Now, differentiation is basically uniqueness, right? कुछ नयापन. If you're bringing something new for the customers and customers are going crazy for it, that becomes differentiation. Like an Apple iOS, look at it, क्या भाई मजेदार है, बड़ा अच्छा है, marketing ऐसी करती है. और a Japanese anime, अब Indians are watching a lot of Japanese anime और K drama, right? और जियो ने प्राइसिंग करके एक differentiation strategy बना दी कि people are valuing that new thing. फ्री इंटरनेट, फ्री आईपीएल, जियो सिनेमा पे जाके फ्री आईपीएल देखो, कोई भी देख सकता है. HD में, right? That is what is a differentiation strategy. What are they doing is cost leader नहीं है वो, cost leader नहीं, वो differentiation है. They are giving something unique which is valued by the customer. Right or wrong is a separate discussion. सही तरीका है गलत तरीका है वो सेपरेट डिस्कशन है, बट ये टेक्निक है. दिस इज अ competitive strategy to beat. Everything is fair and war in market, right? तो वही करते हैं लोग. That is where they go and build a strategy to beat the competition. Now, because of differentiation, the business can charge a premium for its products, right? अब आप के ड्रामा शोज में देख रहे हो या now BTS coming to India charging a ticket of 15,000 rupees. Premium charge कर रहे हैं, right? Or Justin Bieber coming to India, differentiation. People are crazy about Hollywood pop stars are रहे हैं, right? What is they're charging premium for that because they're giving something unique, something different to an Indian market, and they're charging a premium for that product, right? They are able to charge higher prices because they're offering something unique to the customer. This is the benefit of a differentiation strategy, right? Differentiation strategy is the competitive advantage. Absolutely, yes. Differentiation strategy, cost leader strategy, focus सारी competitive advantage ही बना के देती है. इनका काम ही competitive advantage बना के देना, right? Okay. Now, differentiation strategy, how? There are three ways you can be different than the competition. Number one is आप अपने products को innovative बनाओ. There are three ways to become different or to be differentiated against your competition is number one, you make innovative products like an iPhone, like a MacBook, like XYZ product that you think, right? कि आपका यार ये तो बड़ा innovative product like a Z Flip phone or a Z Fold phone, right? आप कुछ innovative बनाते हो, OLED screen बनाते हो, 50 इंच की super ultra HD screens बना दिया आप, right? It's an innovative product. It is basically attractive. It's very snappy with for the customer कि यार ये तो मजा आ गया यूज करके, and that is why they will pay higher price for you and you are doing something better than the competition. Number two is establish superiority through pricing. या तो आप प्रोडक्ट में डिफरेंशिएशन करोगे या आप प्राइसिंग में डिफरेंशिएशन करोगे. आप क्या करोगे, आप बोलोगे ठीक है माय प्रोडक्ट इज हायर क्वालिटी एंड आई एम गिविंग यू एट अ हायर प्राइस फॉर इट. सो आप प्राइसिंग में डिफरेंशिएशन कर सकते हो, राइट? कंज्यूमर्स पे फॉर क्वालिटी, राइट? आप सुपीरियोरिटी एस्टैब्लिश करो, जैसे स्किमिंग, जिसको हम स्किमिंग स्ट्रैटेजी बोलते थे मार्केटिंग में. विल स्टडी दैट इन चैप्टर 7 और फंक्शनल में 6 में पढ़ेंगे. स्किमिंग स्ट्रैटेजी इज वेयर यू चार्ज अ हायर प्राइस लाइक स्टारबक्स. ठीक है, स्टारबक्स ने कोई अलग कॉफी नहीं बना रहा है. The differentiation strategy is not the product. The differentiation strategy is pricing. Starbucks' key strategy is pricing and not the product. Okay? They're not selling a new form of coffee. Normal coffee बेच रहे हैं, एकदम basic coffee बेच रहे हैं. But pricing कर दी 400 रुपए. The brain of the consumer says, wow, this is a quality product. This is a high quality product. This is a global quality product. I am ready to pay for this. This is what its differentiation strategy is. Through pricing. प्रोडक्ट नहीं, प्राइसिंग से वो डिफरेंशिएशन बनता है. नंबर 3 वे ऑफ डिफरेंशिएशन इज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डिफरेंशिएशन, राइट? लाइक लॉयल फैन क्लब्स बना दो, लाइक योर बार्सिलोना फुटबॉल, बार्सिलोना फुटबॉल क्लब है, मैनचेस्टर यूनाइटेड है, चेल्सी है, आर्सेनल है, राइट? इन्होंने क्या किया? दीज आर ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल डिफरेंशिएशन. दीज आर बिजनेसेस, राइट? दे मेक बिलियंस एंड बिलियंस ऑफ यूरोज एवरी ईयर. दे हैव लॉयल फैन क्लब. कोई ब्रांड इमेज से आप डिफरेंशिएट, कुछ अलग नहीं कर रहे. फुटबॉल क्लब ही है दोस्त. प्लेयर्स आ रहे हैं, जा रहे हैं, प्लेयर्स खरीद रहे हैं, बेच रहे हैं, राइट? Every they're doing nothing different than it. What Barcelona does is what Arsenal does as a business. I'm saying, as a business, what Arsenal does, same thing Barcelona does, same thing Real Madrid does, same thing is what Manchester United do, right? They do as a strategy. उनका same है, but they have their own brand bar. They have their own loyal fan clubs. और उस पे वो differentiation strategy है उनकी. People are crazy for Chelsea, people are crazy for Barcelona, people are crazy for Manchester United, right? एक loyal fan club बना दिया, and for their products, for a jersey, Manchester United jersey, you will see who are people who are fans are buying it for 5,000, 6,000 rupees for a jersey, right? 6,000 रुपए की jersey खरीद रहे हैं. They will buy Nike shoes which are worn by Cristiano Ronaldo for 17,000 rupees. People will buy it, right? वो डिफरेंशिएशन लॉयल्टी, ब्रांड लॉयल्टी के हिसाब से उन्होंने डिफरेंशिएट कर दिया अपना प्रोडक्ट. दैट बॉस You are a loyal fan club. We support you. You support us. We are a family. आप हम एक ही क्लब के मेंबर हैं. People start feeling that कि I am part of the brand. I am the representative of the brand and I'll pay any money that they ask for. इसको बोलते हैं organizational differentiation, creating a loyal fan club, right? That is what it does. These are the three ways the differentiation strategy works is either product पे खेलो, pricing पे खेलो या customers को loyal बना के fan club बनाओ, right? This is how companies do it. Now, usually adopted the strategies businesses use to differentiate is either utility कुछ अच्छा दे रहे हो, innovative product, performance improve कर रहे हो, you're offering a higher quality, your rapid production innovation, every year you're bringing something new for the customer, you're enhancing the brand image or fixing product prices, right? ये पिछले 3 points को ही आगे 6 points में bifurcate कर दिया है from an exam perspective, right? From an exam perspective, you should remember these 6 points as well as these. These are three broad points, and these are six in-depth points of those broad points itself. How to be unique, pricing, product, fan club, branding, right? इन्हीं को तोड़ दिया है. यूटिलिटी दो प्रोडक्ट में, इम्प्रूव परफॉर्मेंस दो प्रोडक्ट की, हायर क्वालिटी दो प्रोडक्ट की, हो गया. रैपिड प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन करो, ब्रांड इमेज बनाओ, फिक्सिंग प्रोडक्ट प्राइजेस, प्राइसिंग पे खेलो, राइट? So बात वही तीन है. They are the three basic ideas of differentiation. They are only bifurcated into 6 points. You can study that from an exam perspective. Okay, this will anyway will be uploaded, so don't worry. You can read it. Differentiation की advantages पढ़ लेते फटाफट से. Okay, rivalry, brand loyalty acts as a safeguard for rivalry because you're a differentiated product. You have a brand value. You have a brand loyalty. And so the customers are not going anywhere. Even if there are a huge number of competitors in the industry, the customers are not going anywhere because you have brand loyalty. Buyers, no negotiations for prices as they get special features, right? आपकी pricing वैसी high है, buyers की high है, they getting a differentiated product. Buyer को तो मजे आ रहे हैं ना, उसको क्वालिटी मिल रही है, उसको प्रीमियम प्रोडक्ट मिल रहा है, उसको फैन क्लब है तो उसको अपना they are associating with the brand. They are not going to bargain anywhere. Suppliers, right? Because you're charging a premium price, the suppliers are also happy कि चलो higher prices, it's a costly product, so we will also get better margins, right? Which they do anyway because the customer is paying for it. The customer is paying for the differentiated product और उसमें से supplier को भी अच्छा commission मिल जाता है, अच्छी कमाई हो जाती है. Okay? Entrance, innovative features, they are an expensive offer, right? Not every new brand now there is Al Nassr, right, where Cristiano Ronaldo is now has now gone. That new football club, nobody even heard about that club. किसी ने सुना भी नहीं था. But now they use the brand image to build their own brand image, right? For a new entrant, it is a very expensive offer. You know, getting Cristiano Ronaldo into their club, the Saudi club, it was extremely, extremely expensive. To be equal to a Real Madrid brand value or a Manchester United brand value, which is very difficult for them to achieve. But still, for them to come into the same industry or fight them in terms of business, it's a very expensive offer. It's not cheap, right? It's not cheap. Political parties use differentiation strategy as well. Absolutely, yes, Shubham. ये लोग भी तो ब्रांड इमेज बना रहे हैं. अब बीजेपी और कांग्रेस और whatever the top आम आदमी पार्टी और भारतीय जनता और the parties in UP or Mamata Banerjee party, what are they doing? These political parties are also differentiating themselves, right? अपनी अपनी strategies है, अपनी अपनी brand loyalty है, fan clubs हैं. They are also doing the same thing. They're absolutely right. And that is how strategies are done. Nothing wrong with it. That's right, Shubham. They got their Instagram followers because of Cristiano Ronaldo. That is what they're doing. They're building their business basis his brand image. Substitutes. Now, substitutes cannot replace because it's a differentiated product. Exam question पढ़ लो भाई, सबसे important question है ये. The biggest advantage of differentiation is there are no substitutes because it's a differentiated product. वैसे ही आप सबसे अलग हो, substitute क्या ही आएगा भाई, right? There are no substitutes, or there cannot be real substitutes to a differentiated product. And customers enjoy the loyalty because they're getting a differentiated product. Okay, very good. Disadvantage, very difficult to sustain in the long run. कितनी दिन तक आप नया बना के रख लोगे किसी भी चीज को? नहीं, कभी ना कभी तो कस्टमर भी कहेगा ये तो पुराना हो गया. It's very difficult to sustain newness or uniqueness of your product or pricing or your fan club, right? Second, charging a high price, the customer might not want to give you a higher price always. Again, biggest problem with this differentiation is sustainability of the uniqueness, sustainability of the high prices, and value. The final one is differentiation fails to work if the basis is something that is not valued. Sustaining three things. The disadvantage of differentiation is sustainability of three things. First, the uniqueness of the product. Second, the pricing. And third, the value creation for the customer or loyalty of the customer. Sustaining product innovation, sustaining pricing, and sustaining जो वो तीन चीजें हमने पढ़ी थी, यही तीन चीजों को sustain कर पाना in the long run is very difficult, and that is what a differentiation strategy का problem is as well. ठीक है? Very good. The final strategy is focus strategy. The final strategy is called focus strategy, which is basically concentrated on a particular segment like Ferrari, like Rolex watches. ये सिर्फ अमीरों के लिए घड़ी बनाते हैं, ये सिर्फ अमीरों के लिए गाड़ी बनाते हैं. Lamborghini, right? Ferrari, Lamborghini, all these are products, or Rolex watches, or there is like uh, like some Philip or something watches also, right? Any luxury watch, let's say, right? Any luxury watch or a Louis Vuitton or a Bulgari or Burberry, जो ये बड़े बड़े brands हैं, right? They are only focusing on the rich. They are only focusing on the ultra rich people as their market. They do not want you and me to buy. We are not going to buy a 5 lakh rupees leather jacket. Right? We cannot, right? So basically, their focus strategy is to focus on these people. However, however, that is focus differentiation. Now, आपको ये समझना है कि focus strategy also has two things: focus differentiation and focus cost leadership. ये companies जो है ये focus differentiation पे काम करते हैं. Ferrari, Rolex, these are focus differentiation. They're creating different innovative product, design, customer loyalty, fan clubs हैं इनके, right? That is a focus differentiation strategy. But there are also focused cost leadership strategies, right? They which are focusing on a focused market and reducing their cost. Can you give me an example of focused cost leadership? It's Philip Patek or Patek Philip. Philip Patek or Patek Philip ऐसे ही है, right? Montblanc, Puneet, right? You're right. Montblanc ऐसे भी नाम है ना? पहले earlier we used to call it Mont Blanc. Can you think of some focused cost leadership companies? DMart. DMart is a focused cost leadership. वो तो masses के लिए है ना, focused market नहीं है. It is not a focused market. DMart is for the masses. It's selling to the masses, not to a focused set of customers. शुभम ज्यादा ही रैप सुन रहे हैं. Patek on my wrist. Okay, Mr. Travis Scott. Misho, okay. Misho is again for the masses. Misho is again for the masses. Port, Shopsy, Misho, Lamborghini. नहीं, ठीक है. I'll give you this as a homework. Okay, let's see. Maybe you can Google it later on as well. You will have to bring me examples of focused cost leadership examples. Okay, what are some companies which are focused cost leadership? Very few companies do that. Okay, let me be very honest. This is a very rare strategy. 99% differentiation is focused differentiation, right? But focused cost leadership is a very rare strategy. The homework for you is you have to bring some examples for me of focused cost leadership. ठीक है, अभी ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है, अभी ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट bring me those examples maybe tomorrow. Okay. Now, focus strategy is most effective when the consumers have distinct preferences, right? And rival firms are not attempting to specialize in the same target segment. The risks include the possibility of imitation or swing in customer preference. देखो, फोकस स्ट्रैटेजी का सबसे बड़ा रिस्क पता है क्या है? कि कस्टमर प्रेफरेंस ही चेंज होगी, कस्टमर नो लॉन्गर likes or prefers your product, your game is over. Your game is over. That is the biggest risk of the focus strategy, that there is a swing in customer preference. The customer does not no longer values your product as they used to. Your game is over. That is the biggest disadvantage of focus strategy. Okay. Now, focus cost leadership is basically, अब एग्जांपल आ गए ना आपके पास, अब देखो क्या हो रहा है. The focus cost leadership requires competing based on prices to target a narrow market. Okay. Now, example है Rolex. I'll tell you how. Okay. Rolex earlier it used to be a focus differentiation, right? It used to be a differentiation, but agar now you look at how they have changed their strategy. Rolex, if you read on internet, if you're interested, you can go and read. It's a classic business case study. Rolex watches, you would see are priced at now, let's say 1,10,000, 1,20,000 as well. They have brought down the prices. They have brought down the prices of their watches so that they reach the masses. Focus cost leadership, आपको पता है, Mercedes, BMW ने भी ये start किया था, but they switched again. ये masses में आ गए. From a premium product, Mercedes or a BMW used to be a premium product. Now they slowly, steadily, they started reducing their prices. BMW at 35 lakhs, Mercedes at 30 lakhs, right? पहले कोई नहीं खरीद सकता था, अभी आप देखो सड़क पे कितनी दिखती है. Because because they started focusing on the upper middle class. From an affluent rich class, the focus was upper middle class, for which they reduced their cost. उन्होंने अपनी गाड़ी बनाने की कॉस्ट कम कर दी, so that they can sell at 30-35 lakhs as well. Instead of a 90 lakhs, 80 lakhs की Mercedes, which was an S class or an E class, they brought in some smaller segment Mercedes, C class ले आए या hatchback ले आए, right? A class ले आए. All this is focused cost leadership. They are still focusing on the upper middle class, but they're reducing their prices by lowering their cost. Okay, Claire. Okay. Rajiv is giving the example of Claire. That is good. Parle G again is for the masses, right? Now, when a focused cost leadership is when you're focusing on a specific market only, right? But you're reducing your cost. Like a Mercedes, a BMW, now even Rolex and even Omega. ये बहुत महंगी होती थी पहले, but now they have come down to reach the upper middle class and not just the super rich. Okay, focused cost leadership. Focused differentiation. The best example is Ferrari. Focus differentiation is exclusivity. Not everyone, even today, can buy a Ferrari. It's extremely, extremely exclusive. A lot of people have started buying Lamborghini also. ठीक है, आप देखोगे Lambo बहुत सारी दिखने लग गई हैं, आप Instagram पे जाओ. Ferrari अभी भी नहीं दिखती. Ferrari is extremely focused differentiation. It's only for the ultra super duper rich people, right? Not everybody can own a Ferrari. It's extremely costly. Ferraris are now going around 8 crore, 9 crore rupees की भी गाड़ी होती है Ferrari. Right? You will go and see 10 crore रुपए की Ferrari हो गई है. That is their focus differentiation. They don't want to get into the masses. They don't want to get into the affluent also. They want it to be the ultra super rich people only. That is what a Ferrari does. That's a focus differentiation, right? How to get exclusivity is superior skills, high quality, innovative. ये तो हमें पता ही है. Exclusivity quality से आएगा, innovation से आएगा, design से आएगा, skill से आएगा, right? To get exclusivity or to get differentiation, all you need to focus is on quality, on skills, on being the most innovative in the industry. Right? Advantages क्या है? Premium prices charge करोगे, and because of tremendous expertise of the offerings, rivals and new entrants are very rare. New entry वाले तो डरते ही हैं कि भाई फरारी से कौन लड़ेगा, right? and you can charge a very high premium for your product. Very high. IKEA. IKEA is also a good example of focused cost leadership. IKEA is a great example of focused cost leadership. You know, that's a fantastic example. IKEA, right? It's not for the masses. It's only for like a little affluent people. It's a costly thing, right? But it's still a cost leader. It's still giving you कि यार ऐसे जोड़ फोड़ करके आप बना लो. It's still better than normal furniture. They're giving you options, right? Great example. Okay, disadvantages क्या है? लॉन्ग टर्म सस्टेनेबिलिटी, लिमिटेड डिमांड रहती है. अब फरारी की डिमांड भी तो लिमिटेड, ऐसा नहीं होगा ना दे विल गेट 500 फरारी के ऑर्डर्स इन अ डे. दे विल नॉट गेट दैट. लिमिटेड डिमांड है. डिस्टिंक्टिव कॉम्पिटेंसीज में यू लूज आउट ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम एज वेल, राइट? एंड इफ somebody comes to compete you, your niche could disappear or be taken over by a larger competitor, राइट? एक कोई कोई एक भी कंपटीशन आ गया तो आपकी बैंड बच सकती है, right? Very difficult to sustain even if one competitor comes into the picture, unless you have a huge fan following like a Ferrari, right? These are the disadvantages. The final strategy, which is not a Michael Porter strategy, right? Michael Porter की तीन ही strategies थी: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus strategy. Now, in the recent days, in the recent market, right, after 2010s or in 2000s, as India is growing, as the world is growing, there is a new relative concept strategy, which is not a Michael Porter strategy. Please do not confuse that this is a Michael Porter strategy. This is not. This is a strategy called best cost provider strategy. Best cost provider strategy is a combination of everything that we have studied abhi tak. Best cost provider strategy is the combination of everything that we have studied abhi tak. The baseline, the basic understanding of a best cost provider strategy is that they give value for money to the customer. As simple as that, right? They give value for money to the customer. Tesla can be example of focused differentiation. Absolutely yes. But now focus on best cost provider strategy. Best cost provider strategy actually creates the maximum value for the customer, right? It's a value proposition, giving you all the features at the best prices, like an Oppo, like a Vivo, like a Redmi smartphone, right? These are best cost provider strategies. 48 megapixel camera, touch screen, 8 GB RAM, 1 TB space, all at 15,000 rupees. Best cost provider strategy, right? Giving you all the features, giving you everything available, latest technology, innovative technology at the best prices, at the best cost to the customer, at something that you feel you have to value for money. It's a steal deal. The moment your brain says it's a steal deal, it's such a pricing to kahi nahi milega. That's a best cost provider strategy that a particular company is following. Okay, that is what it does. You have Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo smartphones, more value for money to the customer. It keeps the cost and prices lower and those of the sellers of comparable products of the competitors, right? It is done by offering products at a lower price than the comparable quality and features offered by rivals, right? Samsung दे रहा है 25,000 का, वो same feature Oppo देगा 19,000, right? iPhone is giving features at let's say 65,000, 70,000. OnePlus is giving exactly the same features at 50,000, right? Best cost provider strategy. Best cost provider strategy. By charging similar prices, right, with higher quality. Best cost provider strategy. Similar prices, higher quality, or same quality at lower prices. ये कुछ भी कर सकता है, right? Either of the two. Lower prices, right, with equal quality. या तो क्वालिटी सेम देगा एट कम प्राइस पे, या तो सेम प्राइस चार्ज करेगा एप्पल जितने. सो अब टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ वन प्लस ईदर विल गिव यू अ लोअर प्राइस फ्रॉम सेम फीचर्स एज एन आईफोन, राइट? सेम फीचर्स एज आईफोन बट एट अ लोअर प्राइस, और व्हाट इट विल डू इज सेम प्राइस ऑफ आईफोन, वन प्लस भी कहेगा 70,000 का फोन बट मोर फीचर्स एंड हायर क्वालिटी इवन देन द आईफोन, राइट? These two strategies can be used for best cost provider strategy, right? either lower prices at same quality or same price at higher quality. That's a best cost provider strategy. And that is where we are done with the chapter number 5. Right? Okay. Now let's spend 5 minutes on questions, doubts, anything that you want me to help you, you want more examples on. Let's understand that for the next 5 minutes and then let us wrap up. Any questions and doubts or examples that you need for a particular strategy or that something you feel is not understood, I'll go back to the summary sheet so that you know what all we have studied today. No doubts, Bhumika, that is great. I hope the examples were good enough to explain a lot of things. I'll just wait for some questions and doubts. If no doubts and questions, chapter 5 is done. You can go and enjoy your Saturday. I'll wrap it up in 5 minutes anyway, but I'll stay here for any questions and doubts if anyone has. Peter, no doubts. Good to hear that. Thank you, Bhumi. You should refer mock test papers or questions at the back of the study material to practice some questions. You should totally do that. Which brand in the market has a much better strategy? Every brand has their own strategy that is working for them. So there's no one specific strategy for any brand. Focus differentiation other than affluent market generally no, because बाकी सब mass के लिए ही होता है. Focus differentiation is essentially more on the luxury products. Otherwise, it's a mass product. Good, good, good. I see no doubts for others as well. Cool. Then let us wrap up for today, and I'll see you same time tomorrow. Right? I'll see you same time, and we'll do chapter 6, which is a long one. Like थोड़ा सा लंबा है, so maybe we'll not be able to complete chapter 6. But let us complete that tomorrow then, and I'll see you tomorrow next time at the same time, same place. See you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.